San Diego, it's time to fire it up. From the beaches to the ballparks, from the Gaslamp to North County, no one knows America's finest city like he does.
You can't just punt on a Manny Machado prime year.
He's a fourth-generation San Diegan, born and raised in the heart of this community. Passionate, opinionated, and always bringing you the real talk on your teams, your city, and everything in between.
Braden totally knows his stuff. He's ready for the next step. That guy is good.
Live and local, it's the Braden Surprenant Show.
But I think Braden's one of the up-and-coming young stars in the media game in San Diego.
Now, here's your host, Braden Surprenant.
What's up, San Diego? And a happy Tuesday to everybody out there in America's finest city. I'm Braden Surprenant. He's Frank Marchese. We are the Braden Surprenant Show, live and local each every day from 10 to 2 on San Diego's number one sports station, 97.3, The Fan. It's going to be a fun week for us on the Braden Surprenant Show. We got winter meetings going on right now. Lots of information coming out of Orlando, which we will talk with Sam Levitt about later on today at 11 o'clock. A lot of new information out there when it comes to the San Diego Padres, as well as a lot of moves being made in Major League Baseball. Edwin Diaz has found a new home. He is now a member of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Nice. Everybody could do what they do. Yay. That was kind of some news.
Yeah, and that was like 2 minutes after Schwarber announced that he had signed with Philadelphia, which was not surprising at all.
The Kyle Schwarber news is not like the worst. I thought he was probably going to stay in Philly or go to Boston. I thought those were probably the only two places that he would end up. So we're starting to get some moves. Now, here's the other thing, too. Who did we say was going to set the market and then the dominoes were going to start to fall?
Kyle Schwarber.
Kyle Schwarber, I guess, who just signed. Kyle Schwarber. So that's good news. There should be more movement here. But the biggest thing, and here's the deal. There's a lot of people talking about it today. We're going to play some sound. You know, Sam Levitt was joined by Dennis Lynn earlier today. We're going to have that sound for you. Mark Feinsand was on MLB Network today, and he talked about the big report that was laid out in the Union Tribune yesterday from Kevin Acee. Kevin Acee put together a Winter Meetings article, and what he was getting from some sources is some pretty eye-opening stuff if you're a Padres fan. There's a lot of things that came out of that article. It talked about the payroll philosophy for 2026, and to no one's surprise, it sounds like the Padres are going to have relatively the same payroll that they had last year, like they've had the last couple of years. Business is normal, according to the Padres, which I am not too shocked to find out about. Their payroll last year was around $211 million. Their payroll right now, committed to 2026, is about $201 million. It's probably going to be around there, give or take $10, $15 million. I think in that range, they expect to have a top 10 payroll in Major League Baseball. That's all you can really ask for if you're a Padres fan. They're trying. They're putting money out there. They're spending money. You like to see that. We'll talk about the payroll figures of what they expect and all this other stuff in a little bit. But they lay out a lot of different things about the competitive outlook. They've laid out a lot of things about Nick Pavetta's rumors, Jake Cronenworth interest in a lot of teams, Padres budget, fluidity. I mean, there's a lot of that stuff that's going out there. But the biggest thing that was interesting about yesterday, as laid out in Kevin Acee's article on the Padres offseason plans, two sources, this is a direct quote from the article, two sources familiar with the Padres discussions said A.J. Preller is shooting big. One source said the Padres are working multiple fronts that could result in deals that rival the massive trade in which they acquired 4 major leaguers in exchange for Juan Soto and Trent Grisham at the Winter Meetings 2 years ago. Another source said Preller's plans coming to fruition would make the deals he made the past 2 trade deadlines pale in comparison. I think you can talk about this in 2 different ways. I think you can really evaluate it 2 different sides, okay? So I think you can look at this and interpret it almost from a glass half full perspective and a glass half empty perspective. from a Padres fan of glass half full, you could view it as a massive trade coming the Padres' way. And not in the sense of they're trading away a big name like a Juan Soto to get a huge return of other players. Maybe it's the other way around. I don't find that to be the case. I mean, I don't think there's a lot of major league players the Padres are going to give up on their roster to bring back one guy. But when you start to break it down, I mean, obviously they're shooting big right now. If you want to view it from the other side of things, like a Juan Soto type trade in which you trade away one of your big guys to get a lot in return, there's only a limited amount of players the Padres have that make that happen. So I'm curious to see what these moves would potentially be. Like, are they trying to free up payroll? Or are they trying to bring a bunch of other major leaguers in for just one guy? Who are the players that are up to a Juan Soto level return on the Padres? First, you got to start off with some of the big money guys, like Xander Bogaerts and Manny Machado. I don't think either of those guys would bring back a Juan Soto haul. That would be a big blockbuster. And at the same time, they're not really movable pieces. They got full no-trade clauses. There's a lot of money owed to them. They're aging veterans. Still got a lot left in the tank in a Padres uniform. But at the same time, not going to be something that you're going to get a big haul for. Just not. You're just not going to get a big haul for that. And it's probably not going to happen because you're not going to get those guys to waive a no-trade clause. So I highly doubt it's one of those two. Then you start looking at some of the other players that might be worth a trade. Fernando Tatis Jr., that's been in the news a lot, right? Padres said yesterday they're not going to trade Fernando Tatis Jr. Joel Sherman, reported on MLB Network that they're not trading Fernando Tatis Jr. So he kind of fits the bill a little bit, but it doesn't sound like he might be traded. I think it'd be a harder sell. Then you look at a guy like Jackson Merrill. I mean, Jackson Merrill is pretty affordable. He's a movable contract, but he only costs you $15 million towards the AAV. That is not a player that is really going to save you money in the long run. They're not trading Jackson Merrill at age 22. So then you start to break it down. And the Padres have acquired 2 new bullpen arms. Bullpen's really stocked up, really loaded. Maybe they might be trading a bullpen arm. Out of the Padres bullpen, who would be a trade piece that would bring back a haul, but also be considered a blockbuster? There's only one person on that list, and that's Mason Miller. Mason Miller is under control until 2030. Mason Miller is the best bullpen arm in all of Major League Baseball. Mason Miller is highly coveted at age 27. So if that's the case, there might be a situation where the Padres trade away Mason Miller. I think that would be kind of ridiculous. That would be kind of high level, to be honest with you. Can you survive in the bullpen without a guy like Mason Miller? I mean, you could. But then you start to look back at the last trade deadline. It's like you gave up all of what you gave up to have Mason Miller for just a half of a season, and then you're going to flip him? That doesn't make sense from a money standpoint, because if you're trying to save money, Mason Miller's the guy that's saving you the money. I mean, he's not going to save you a fortune. He's expected to get $3.4 million in arbitration. I mean, that is like nothing for a Major League Baseball team when it comes to AAV. Just nothing. But you might get somebody to overpay for it. You're definitely going to get somebody to overpay for a guy like Mason Miller. But I find that really hard to believe. I'm curious to see what this is going to lay out to be. I mean, you can say what you want about, like, oh, they could trade Jason Adam or Wandy Peralta, or nobody's going to want those guys as comparison to a guy like Mason Miller. if you want to improve your roster and fill a lot of holes, Mason Miller might be the guy that fills out a lot of the roster. But I'm going to be interested to see how this goes. Now, again, I told you can view it as two different ways. You can view it as a glass half full, in which the Padres are going to be making a lot of moves and trading away a lot of guys and maybe bringing in other big pieces, and they get to keep a guy like Mason Miller. Or you could interpret it as who is a player that could bring a splash like Juan Soto, and based on just process of elimination, the Padres really don't have a lot of likable trade assets that could do that, with the exception of a guy like Mason Miller. Now, do I think the Padres should do that? No, I do not. I'm not going to sit here and argue that it's a good idea. But here's the thing. As the process plays out this winter, it sounds like A.J. Preller is shooting big. That's what they have said. And we've heard this before, and sometimes he makes the deals happen, and sometimes he doesn't. But if he's shooting big, you have to give it time over a couple of different moves to see the full picture. We just went through this at the trade deadline, right? At the trade deadline, the big move was Mason Miller, and everybody freaked out. We don't need a bullpen arm. What are they doing? What are they giving up the Freeze for? This is an asset, a luxury we don't need. And then you let the rest of the trade deadline play out, and you could argue that A.J. Preller had a pretty good trade deadline. He brought in all the pieces that he needed to bring in. He got a Ramon Laureano. He got the catching situation figured out. He improved the bullpen. I mean, those were all things that came into fruition that day in July or August, whatever the trade deadline was this past year. So as we start to see the rumors, doesn't happen till it happens. We know that from a lot of reports from everybody's favorite journalist, Ken Rosenthal, on a trade deadline.
Oh, we are. That seemed
we don't get to hear the chat too much, so you got to open their mics when we talk about Ken Rosenthal.
That seemed like a passing comment, so I didn't do it. That didn't sound like you were setting up.
Go Aztecs was on it. Boo. Anytime I say everybody's favorite journalist, just assume the boo is coming. Everybody loves Ken. Everybody's favorite journalist in San Diego. Thank you, Frank. Appreciate it. So, with all of that, it's just going to be a waiting process. And this is, you know what? This is a fun time of year for a Padres fan because of how fun A.J. Preller is. It's fun. They're going to be sweating it out for the next couple of days. Everybody's going to be scrolling through. You're going to see the rumors come through, everything like that. Can't wait to see what this is about. When we come back, we're going to talk more about the Padres payroll picture as it becomes a little bit more clearer. We'll get the rumors on Pivetta and Cronenworth. We will also hear from Mark Feinstein, who was on MLB Network this morning, talking about what the Padres mean by shooting big. We will also hear from Sam Levitt at 11 o'clock. He will join the show. We got some news from Dennis Lynn that we're going to get to. I mean, we got a lot to unpack with the Padres at the winter meetings here on the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego Summer Sports Station 97.3 The Fan. 10:19. We're getting updates throughout the day from Orlando. Not from the Mouse, even though the Mouse is hosting everybody in baseball. Did you know that? It's great. The Mouse. Everybody's favorite mouse. Boo. What's the other one? Martimer or something like that? Martimer Mouse. He's like the evil guy.
Yeah.
Martimer Mouse. Oh, no, I'm going to get Mariner Moose instead.
Getting Mariner Moose.
Yeah, what's
that's a first, I think.
Evil Twin. Yeah, what's his name?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
No, that's not it. There's one, he's got like a weird, like, he's got his nose is all tweaked. Anyway, we're getting a lot of updates from Orlando. Here's a couple that have come down. Joel Sherman just tweeted this out 19 minutes ago. With Kyle Schwarber back with the Phillies, the dam will break on position player movement now. One to watch, the Diamondbacks moving Ketel Marte. I didn't even think about that. I mean, we talked about free agent signing, Frank. We didn't talk about trades with a lot of teams when it comes to middle infielders or infielders in general.
Correct.
So that's an interesting move. I do want to mention, a lot of people were talking about the YouTube chat. We're going to spend most of the time on baseball today, and we're going to get to the sound from Mark Feinstein talking about the Padres. Phillip Rivers is back, baby.
I have it in the sports thread.
Phillip Rivers is back. They beat you to it, dude. We'll talk about Phillip more in the sports thread.
It's just funny.
They already had the workout, dude, so you got to get the update now. 44-year-old Phillip Rivers, who has not played in the NFL since the 2020 COVID season, is signing to the quarterback-needy Indianapolis Colts practice squad. They're going to work him out more. They said he looked good throwing the ball.
That's cool.
I think it's great. That's all you need to know about what the Colts think about their other players. Indianapolis Colts, Phillip Rivers. What does that mean for the Chargers' one-day contract that they signed with him for him to retire a Charger?
Yeah, I know.
Is he going to have to do that again? By the way, he's got grandkids, apparently. Phillip Rivers is one of the 26 modern-era semifinalists for the Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 2026. If he signs to the Colts' active roster, his name will come off that list. The clock will restart, and his Hall of Fame candidacy will be delayed by 5 years. You know what? I want to see Phillip Rivers lead the Colts to a Super Bowl at age 44, and then he's a shoo-in first ballot Hall of Famer.
I want to see him be in the Hall of Fame and then get signed to a team. I want it and him play. I want to see him become the first Hall of Famer to play in an NFL game.
I know. The thing is, it's like, I didn't say grandpa as a derogatory term. He actually has a grandchild.
Yeah, he
is actually a grandfather.
But to be fair, he also has an inordinate amount of opportunity to have that happen.
I think his oldest daughter is older than the backup quarterback in Indianapolis.
What is he on, kid? 13?
Riley Leonard. I don't know, dude. I don't know. All I know is he's back. All right, let's get back to the Padres for a second. I wanted to address it. There's a lot of Phillip Rivers fans in the chat that are super stoked. Juan being one of them. All right, let's get to this piece again. I mean, this was a bombshell last night, I thought. Am I over-exaggerating? I'm a very dramatic person.
I mean,
But it's kind of big news, I would say. Like, he's shooting big. I mean, the last couple of years, what has Kevin Acee reported? Padres probably aren't going to do too much. This year, he goes, he's shooting big. What does that mean? Mark Feinstein talked about on MLB Network for a couple of minutes about what it means that the Padres are shooting big and what you can expect with the Padres over these next couple of days.
Here's an excerpt from what hit today. Two sources familiar with the Padres discussion said Preller is shooting big. That's not unusual, but he went on to clarify with some detail. One source said the Padres are working multiple fronts that could result in deals that rival the massive trade in which they acquired 4 major leaguers in exchange for Juan Soto and Trent Grisham at the Winter Meetings 2 years ago. Another source said Preller's plans coming to fruition would make the deals he made at the past 2 trade deadlines pale in comparison. Now, combine that information with what Joel Sherman told us on this program yesterday morning, that Fernando Tatis is staying put, and that leads you to draw some conclusions as to other players that might be in that big deal. Let's put that board up. Manny Machado making a ton of money, signed through 2033. Bogarts, same story. Darvish, Cronenworth. Jackson Merrill's the youngest of the group. If you're going to speculate as to what a big deal would look like that didn't involve Tatis, I mean, I don't even know where to start on this, Mark.
Looking at that board, my first inclination is Jackson Merrill. Manny Machado is a full no-trade clause. You know, not a young guy at this point. He's certainly in the later stages of his career. I don't know that Manny Machado at this point brings back that kind of haul that we're talking about if they're talking about what Kevin was reporting. Jackson Merrill at a pretty reasonable contract, long-term, young guy who's already shown he can be an impact player at the big league level. That's the one I would have to think it involved. But you know what? As you said, A.J. Preller shooting big. Not a surprise. This is what A.J. Preller does. Nothing the Padres do would ever surprise me.
No, I remember Kemp, Upton, and Upton.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to work for a little bit. Didn't go the last thing.
Kimbrel as well in that year.
But here's what I think is going to happen. This is just my thought as I sit here and we're looking back at some of the moves that AJ had. I didn't know this board was coming up. But here's my thought that I have. Can we put the board back up there with the money? So we're looking at Machado. You're looking at Tatis. You're looking at Merrill. You're looking at all those guys, right? Now, the only way, not the only way, but I got a way for you. I still believe Tatis is on the board, but let's say he's not. Manny Machado, and I throw Mason Miller in. Because you got control over Mason Miller. Now, all of a sudden, you're talking about how things get done.
I mean,
and don't tell me you don't get back a haul for Mason Miller.
He just gave up the number one prospect in the game for Mason Miller, 5 months ago?
So what? He gave up Soto for 2 months. He got him and gave up all those players.
Right, but Soto was an expiring contract.
Miller's under control through 2029.
Yeah,
and you're talking about a big-time deal there.
And when has anybody been after a closer more than this market?
But again, nothing would surprise you when it comes to A.J. Preller. So
there's a lot to unpack on that.
I just want to say, and this means absolutely nothing to the conversation at hand. Anyone listening in MLB Network, you do not need to have background music for every single graphic you put up, because that's highly irritating.
There used to be a thing where it was back in the day, it sounded like the people would do that. They'd have music playing in the background because they think it would like pick up the meters more for ratings. That probably doesn't work. It's probably a myth.
And number two, who were the 4 major leaguers that the Padres got back for Juan Soto and Trent Grisham?
Michael King,
major leaguer.
Randy
Vasquez, major leaguer.
Johnny Brito?
No, he's not a major leaguer. Sorry.
I mean, he had played in the big leagues.
And Drew Thorpe, who had not played in the major leagues at that point. You got 2 major leaguers back for those guys.
You got 2 real major leaguers, I would say. You got Kyle Higashioka.
Fine, 3.
No. I would go with 2.5. You got Michael King and you got Kyle Higashioka. I mean, Randy Vasquez.
He was not a major leaguer at that time.
He had made starts in the major leagues,
yes,
but he was not an everyday major leaguer. He made a start against the Padres that year. But he's not he wasn't a. They throw major leaguer around like it's a bunch of veterans that they got back.
No, they got Michael King and Kyle Higashioka. That was it. Those are the only established major leaguers that they got.
They got Michael King, who had been a bullpen arm that had made a couple of starts but wasn't really a starter. They got Johnny Brito, Kyle Higashioka, and then the Drew Thorpe had not been in the major leagues yet, as you mentioned before. I mean,
Thorpe is still in high A.
How many appearances? Johnny Brito had they played in 25 games in the big leagues the year before for the Yankees. 25 years. I would not really consider him a established major leaguer. Kyle Higashioka had been part of that Yankees team for a long time.
Yeah, he had been a Yankee for years. He was not a starter. He wasn't a starter by any means, but he was on the Major League Ball Club for years with the Yankees. Higashioka.
Yeah, Kyle Higashioka played. Oh my God, he played. At that point in time, he played for almost 10 years. It seems like.
Yes, they did flip
No, here it
Drew
is.
Thorpe for Dylan Cease, but that's not getting a major leaguer from the Yankees.
No, he's at 9 years. Sorry, I read it wrong. He played for the Yankees for 7 years.
Yeah.
At the big league level. So you would count him as a major leaguer. You would count Michael King as a major leaguer. And then outside of that, Johnny Brito had 25 games in the big leagues. Randy Vasquez probably had like a couple of outings in the big leagues, if that.
But anyway, we took 2 detours, one a lot longer than the other, on things that had nothing to do with that commentary.
Yeah, but like Juan Soto is like at the time like the best guy in the market. There's nobody on the Padres that's going to get you that, and that got you a backup catcher, that got you a starting pitcher, that got you 2 end of back rotation
starting pitchers.
back of rotation guys, and then if you didn't trade Drew Thorpe to Chicago, you wouldn't have got another starting pitcher. So I mean that's the haul you got. I just the Jackson Merrill conversation. I think you just cut that off immediately. I can't imagine the Padres trading away Jackson Merrill. I mean, there would be why? That's not a piece that saves you money and gets you enough back. I mean, Jackson Merrill's a great player. He's probably but he's so affordable. There's no reason to trade. It wouldn't make any sense. Notice they didn't talk about Fernando once in that deal.
No, Harold Reynolds said if he was on the board.
Because they were talking about yesterday how he's not available. So they went. I mean, the Manny Machado, Mason Miller blockbuster was just, it's wild too. I think they're on the Mason Miller thing makes sense to me. Anything that involves Manny or like Xander or anything like that doesn't make a lot of sense unless you can convince somebody to pay for Xander's contract, and that's how you get that's how you get something back out of the Mason Miller deal. But even then, I just, what prospects are out there that are for sure shoo-in guys that you're willing to give Mason Miller up for? Unless they're like starting pitchers that are going to be studs. I just don't see that happening. I think this could potentially be a 3-team trade that gets major leaguers on a lot of different teams. That's the only thing that would make sense to me. I mean, the idea of them trading Mason Miller is not a crazy idea. I don't personally like it, but that's not a crazy out of the ordinary thing for this, honestly, for AJ Preller. AJ Preller does some crazy moves, man. Like that's not crazy. I mean, when you start thinking about like the time frame, you just use them for like a couple of months. Then you're like, okay, well that's kind of odd. But overall, I mean, I didn't like the way that they start licking their chops, man, when they hear like, oh, look at all these guys the Padres could potentially trade. Ridiculous.
I mean, I'm looking at the top prospects, the top 100 prospects right now, as far as who you would give up Mason Miller for. And I'm thinking also to add, as you said, Xander Bogaerts in that deal, just to ship him off and move some money.
You're just trying to make something you're trying to make something make sense here.
It makes no sense. JJ Weatherholt is the number 5 prospect out of the St. Louis Cardinals. He's in AAA. He's expected to make his major league debut this year. That would fill the shortstop role after trading Xander Bogaerts. It makes no sense for St. Louis to get either Xander Bogaerts or Mason Miller right now. Sam Basallo, I mean, maybe with Baltimore. He's a catcher, first baseman. He's got major league experience, possibly. Looking at Nolan McLean, I think as a Met fan, I would love to see see Mason Miller join the Mets, but I don't think that's a trade that they would be willing to do. Bryce Eldridge, you're not going to trade a guy like Mason Miller or Xander Bogaerts inside the division, so that's not going to happen. Would you consider it for Bubba Chandler? But does that fit what the Pirates are doing?
I need multiple.
Andrew Painter, like I'm just talking about like who is the big name, the number 1 guy you're seeing in this. Andrew Painter for the Phillies, that could make some sense. He pitched last year.
The only other thing that would make sense on this, I think the whole process of this particular deal involves major leaguers. And so I think there's another way that we're not looking at this that we're going to talk about when we come back. We'll also get to Juan's phone call, who's waiting on hold. And we have another report about 3 teams to watch in trade talks. Who are they? We will tell you those names when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show. Standing Storm at Sports Station 97 through the Fan. We got Aztec tickets to give away for Aztecs basketball against Lamar. That's tomorrow?
I believe so, yes. Yeah, the 10th, yep.
Yeah, that'd be tomorrow. We'll be giving those away in the 1 o'clock hour.
We will be in Salt Lake City by that
By the time, yeah, exactly. I will be hopefully asleep on a plane at that point in time. We'll be leaving for Salt Lake City at that time. Where they tip off at like 7. Our flight leaves like 7 tomorrow.
Yeah.
I will be asleep. That will be my goal because it's going to be a fun 48 hours.
I mean, what? It's going to be a hour and a half jump to Salt Lake City and then the cross country one.
I just did that flight. It's about hour 45. Just like under 2 hours, maybe about 2 hours. Just kind of depends. Pretty easy flying in there.
I wouldn't even bother sleeping on that one.
No, I wouldn't. I'm sleeping on this long one for sure. And then
I'm going to try not to sleep because I don't want to get punched just in case I snore.
Oh, am I sitting next to you?
Yeah, we're sitting across.
We have the
aisles,
two
aisles. Yeah, the two aisles.
No. The guy sitting middle to you will punch you for me. I'll just tell him beforehand, hey, if this guy snores, he says he likes getting punched. So
right.
I will do that when you're asleep.
See, but you have the aisle seat though, so you can stand up,
you
wind up, you have more room to. Yeah,
Bam.
You have more room to maneuver.
Bam! You gotta watch out for that cart, dude, going through.
Lady, thanks for hitting me with the cart. We didn't move the cart today, sir. Thank you.
You're going to think it's the cart. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. All guests on 97 through the Fan join us on the David P. Shapiro Fan Hotline. David P. Shapiro, criminal defense attorneys helping good people regain control of their future when charged with the crimes since 2010. Visit davidpshapirolaw.com. Let's get out to Juan in Oceanside wants to join the show. Juan, what's going on, man?
How's it going, guys? I'm just calling in to react to the Kevin Acee article talking about a big splash. So the way that I interpreted it was more or less us trading for a bigger player of Juan Soto's caliber. And in my mind, I was thinking we could potentially package Estrada and Cronenworth in some way, shape, or form to get enough prospects to get a pitcher like Tarek Skubal, which I think would probably be the biggest splash and would probably shock people the most. I don't know what you guys think about that.
You'd have to get a good prospect capital back for a guy like Jake Cronenworth and, Jeremiah Estrada.
Certainly a different way of looking at it.
There's other ways you could look at it. I mean, they said...
Not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that is definitely a different way to look at that article.
And we read that article. I said you could interpret it both ways. You can interpret it as the Padres are trading away a big, valuable piece for a lot of different pieces back. Or you can view it as there's so many names getting moved and it's so big with everybody getting traded that it's just that it's as big. But nobody said it was going to be Padres trading a Juan Soto type.
Mm-hmm.
They just said it could be bigger than that trade. That trade was pretty big.
Yeah.
Also, how many players moved during this last trade deadline? It was like 20-something Padres farmhands moved.
Yeah.
I mean, when AJ Preller makes trades, he makes multiple trades, and there's usually like 15 to 20 guys getting moved. So I think from that perspective, I think that's the other way that you can interpret this. I mean, you can interpret it either way. If you want to view it from a negative standpoint, is they're trading away Fernando, and they're going to get all these prospects back. Or you could view it like one and be, all right, well, they trade away some major league players that they've been shopping around. Maybe it's a Nick Pivetta. Maybe it's a Jake Cronenworth. Maybe it's maybe another bullpen piece like a Jeremiah Estrada. They all have some type of value, and maybe they get some prospects in return. Maybe they get other pieces in return. I mean, that's the other way to look at it, and I was going to get to that before we went to break, of maybe they go out there and trade some of their veteran major leaguers for other major leaguers that other teams have stockpiled, right? Like the Red Sox, I'm just using them as an example, but the Red Sox have a lot of outfielders, right, Frank?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've been trying to shop their outfielders. Maybe they might need something else, whatever. And I'm not attuned to the Red Sox needs yet, but everybody needs starting pitching. Everybody needs this, that, and the other. I mean, it could be a swap where you make a move like that. Maybe they trade for Nick Pivetta and sign him to a contract extension. You get an outfielder out of it. and then or a couple prospects, then you flip those guys to somebody else.
So I don't know, because you sent me the link to the thing on ESPN. I don't know where it started. But I'm seeing Jesse Rogers posting on this ESPN.
That's what I teased before going to break about 3 teams to watch in trade talks.
Boy, if you did see that, you picking the Red Sox out of thin air was really Nostradamus of you.
Well, I knew the Red Sox had a lot of outfielders that are available. But anyway, 3 teams to watch in trade talks, as reported by Jesse Rogers. This was the latest update we got for the winter meetings was free agent splashes dominated the winter meeting spotlight Tuesday morning, but trade winds continue to swirl in Orlando. The Boston Red Sox, Chicago Cubs, and San Diego Padres are all coming up often as teams that could make a deal soon. They didn't say they'd all make a deal together, but they said, Jesse Rogers said they could all make a move soon. Joel Sherman tweeted out about, I don't know, a handful of minutes ago, probably 30 minutes ago, that expect Ketel Marte to potentially get moved now very quickly because of the market getting set with Kyle Schwarber. We knew that Kyle Schwarber was going to be the first domino piece to fall, and then everything else is going to fall into place.
Can we just take a second here to acknowledge one of our wonderful commenters here? I would trade Ethan Salas for cash and sign Michael King.
Nice.
In what world would you ever trade your top prospect
for cash?
For cash only.
Just cash. That's the guy that said we're not trading anyone, period. He typed out period in the deal.
Schwarber got 5 years, 150.
Which I think was what he was projected to get, if I'm not mistaken.
There or thereabouts, yes.
Straight cash, homie. How about the Edwin Diaz deal for a second? The Edwin Diaz deal, didn't you say the Mets basically offered the same thing?
Mets offered 3 years, 66 with deferrals.
366 is what you said.
3 years. Yeah, 3 years for 66.
369
from
the Dodgers. Mm-hmm. Anybody can do what the Dodgers do.
I would be interested. I would be interested to know what the plan was, because Diaz had posted on Twitter, on Instagram, the SpongeBob meme, like with Squidward looking at his house, looking at Patrick, and SpongeBob having fun running around.
Squidward tennis balls.
Yeah.
Tentacles. It's tentacles.
As him, Diaz as Squidward, and the Mets and Williams running around.
He put that out?
He did.
That's crazy.
I wonder if they didn't communicate to him properly. Hey, we're not trying to replace you. We're looking to add to the back end of this bullpen, kind of like what we did with Helsley last year. And maybe he felt slighted by the Mets that they would sign Devin Williams as an attempt to replace him. So he went to the Dodgers instead on effectively the same deal.
Yeah, then you account for, New York's got high taxes too, just like California. But aside from like taxes, and who knows what the deferrals are, it's basically the same contract that it's a couple of $1 million. How much is your life change between $23 million?
It was $1 million a year.
Yeah, how much is your life change between $22 million and $23 million?
I would be interested to know if he felt slighted by the Mets signing Devin Williams.
He might.
And him thinking that they were trying to replace him instead of adding to that back end of that bullpen and doing like what the Padres did with Miller and Suarez.
The Kyle Schwarber thing's interesting too. 5 years, $150 million. Fangraphs had him at 4 years, $112. He gets an additional $2 million a year and an extra year. It's not a bad deal. These are pretty spot on with some of the deals that have been signed. They're pretty spot on with some of the deals that have been signed. So he's the top of the list in terms of the pieces. Now everything's going to start falling into place. Other rumors for you before we get to Sam in the 11 o'clock hour. Sounds like the Blue Jays are trying to make another splash. Reigning AL champions are still looking to spend after a strong start to the offseason and could lead the winter meetings with a new closer. Pete Fairbanks and Robert Suarez are 2 names to watch in Toronto's reliever search. I could see Robert Suarez being a Blue Jay.
Yeah, I could see that as well. And I also think that the Mets are in on him too, because that Diaz kind of messed up that plan, which is what makes me think that they didn't explain to him what the plan was.
I mean, you don't need to explain like your plan, but at least you can rope him in on like what they saw him as, right?
Yeah, we still see you as the closer. We still see you as our ninth inning guy. We want you here. We're trying to get some help.
I think the winter meetings are about to heat up a little bit more for a lot of signings and everything like that, and trades. I mean, just based on what we've already seen this morning. I mean, you saw Diaz go off the board and Schwarber go off the board pretty easily.
Within minutes.
You're starting to see things escalate a little bit. And I think everybody, as we mentioned before, everybody wants to get these deals done before spring training, and they want to be locked in on multiple year contracts with the impending CBA and everything like that. So very interesting to see. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Let's get out to Angelo in San Diego. Angelo, what's going on, man?
Hey. What's going on, guys? Thanks for taking the call. Hey, I just wanted to point out, for me, obviously, I probably will have a very different perspective on this whole thing. But in my opinion, I'm just over it. I think that we need to fire AJ Preller. I've seen enough data to really support that his management style has been ineffective. You know, every year we seem to conduct this business exercise when it amounts to essentially a cleanup effort to fix AJ Preller's crazy moves every year. And the way that the media tends to sell this continual haphazard management is some sort of rumor mill type of hype train that drives fan engagement. But the fact of the matter is that we've gone through multiple managers every season. We've spent billions of dollars in ownership money for one 2022 NLCS appearance. And it's more than likely the team's going to be sold anyway. I think, in my opinion, we should just end the AJ Preller era.
Who would you go get that's better?
I'm just saying, I think personally we should just stop because we've seen enough. This guy
let me ask you this question. Is making the playoffs 4 of the last 6 years when your organization has only made the playoffs 5 times, isn't that an improvement to what your organization was?
Yes, but is it a sustainable improvement? Right? Because the thing is that the reason why the Dodgers have been so successful is because they don't have to scramble every offseason. They don't have to scramble every trade deadline to constantly change the team over and over and over and over again. And in that process, we've locked ourselves into long-term contracts to aging players that are going to cost us more in the long run. And my theory is that essentially, let's say Joe LaCoppe, right? That's the rumor, from the Warriors buys the team. It's very common from my experience for new ownership to get rid of the previous management and start fresh.
So if you get rid of AJ Preller now and then you sell the team, wouldn't you have then 3 general managers in like a 3 to 4 year span?
I don't know.
I mean, if that's the case, I mean, and I appreciate the phone call, Angelo, but like you basically said they're going to get a new general manager when the new ownership comes in. Then why would you fire AJ Preller, hire somebody else just for that guy to get fired and replaced? Now you have 3, then you have inconsistency in your front office. Let me say, it's not sustainable. The Padres have made the playoffs 4 of the last 6 years.
Yeah, that sounds pretty.
That sounds pretty sustainable to me. I don't know what to tell you. And in the other 2 years, it's not like they were awful. I mean, they were in it. They had a couple of collapses. It happens in baseball. He's not the problem, man. And the other thing too is like, if you're gonna do that, okay, fine. But then don't just go like, look what the Dodgers do. Stop it. Come on. If you wanted to say like, hey, look, the Rays have had sustained success. They don't have as much money. And they're like, I'd listen to it. But it's like, well, the Dodgers don't do this. The Dodgers don't have to. The Dodgers just spent a ton of money on Tanner Scott. And then he sucked. And he got hurt. And you know what they did? They're like, all right, we'll just get the next best guy. Check. Come on, man.
New rule on the show, by the way. If you're going to call up requesting that the Padres fire somebody, you have to bring names.
I need to know who you want a replacement with.
You have to give names. You can't just say fire this guy and not have an idea as to who you want.
Do you want us to turn into Penn State? You want this to turn into Penn State?
Really?
Hey, man.
Really,
They're on
dude?
choice 18 with Matt Campbell. Just saying. Have a plan before you start just firing people. That's insane.
That felt unnecessary. Jesus.
It's fresh. Sam Levitt joins us next. This hour 97 through the fans, brought to you by SDG&E. Take control of your energy use and help save this winter. Use large appliances outside of on-peak hours of 4 to 9 p.m. and unplug devices when not in use. Find more tips at sdgne.com/simple steps. Well, things are starting to heat up over there in Orlando, Florida. Joining us again in the 11 o'clock hour, Sam Levitt, out there live in Orlando. Sam, starting to heat up a little bit in terms of the hot stove. A lot of pieces moving. Edwin Diaz signs with the Dodgers, Kyle Schwarber with the Phillies, and of course a lot of Padres news. What's been the scene set today down in Orlando?
Yeah, it's been obviously a much busier day too. I think nobody here really surprised about Schwarber going back to the Phillies. It felt like that was probably what was going to happen. Like he was going to go get his offers and then go back to Philadelphia, and they would have a chance to match it. And ultimately he goes back to Philly, which, it always felt like it would have been an upset for another team to get him. And then Edwin Diaz, where on one hand, I think from a general perspective and a Met perspective, it's a shocker because he's been so good for them. And he's also, obviously been a very, very big part of that team. And ultimately, they save a little money by signing Devin Williams last week for 3 years, $50+ million. And I suppose that's the surprising part. But the idea that the Dodgers got another and continue to spend wildly, definitely not surprising. So certainly two big signings, and I'd classify the Diaz one, despite it being the LA Dodgers, which doesn't surprise us at this point. I would classify it as being a stunner that he goes from New York to LA.
Even Ian Rappaport was upset about the news on Twitter. He was very upset. He's like, figures it's another one to the Dodgers. You got people in the NFL upset about these potential moves. But I'm sure that will throw a tizzy for the collective bargaining conversations around Orlando these next couple of days. But let's talk about the big news out of Kevin Acey's article last night. I mean, a lot to unpack. I think you can interpret it multiple ways. How does Sam Levitt interpret what you read last night in that article?
Yeah, I mean, reading what Kevin wrote last night and talking to some people here today, I think two things can be true. Certainly there can be a lot of validity to what Kevin wrote about what the Padres plan to do, and a big move could come. I also think that when you talk about AJ Preller, you can sort of always say that about AJ, right? That there's something big that could happen. And we know that AJ is, the type of general manager who listens on everybody, right? And is open to a lot of possibilities. So, on one hand, I think it was interesting to see that written at this time, but at the same time, I do wonder how often you can just write that about AJ Preller and the Padres and what he's talking about, and we know how he operates, and we know that he can stun us and pull things out of nowhere and do things that you do not see happening whatsoever. So I'm not shocked to hear it. I talked to Dennis Lynn a little bit earlier today about his reporting in The Athletic yesterday about Nick Pivetta and his belief that they are listening on offers to him. I don't know that I'd put even trading Pivetta in the category of what I think Kevin was, getting to. My mind goes to even bigger names than that. Anybody who has control and would bring a big haul back. I don't even really want to get into names because I feel like it's almost irresponsible because of what that would mean for the Padres and this roster and the type of move that could be. But again, just to go back to the original assessment, certainly respect Kevin's reporting on it. I also think that you could probably say that about AJ at about any time during an offseason or around the trade deadline, that he's thinking about a lot of different things. And many of those things could be very, very big.
I think the other way, I think there's two ways to interpret that news. I think you could compare it to a sense of one big player for a bunch of different major leaguers. I think a lot of people viewed it like that. I think the other context is, Kevin could just be pointing out the fact that it could be a move that is just so big that it's at that level, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a one for a bunch or whatever. There might just be a bunch of moves. A lot of pieces moving, just like the trade deadline. Because he brought up the last year's trade deadline. And again, in last year's trade deadline, there's like 20 prospects moved. I mean, it could just be a sense of this is going to be a big trade of that magnitude, but it's not specifically a Fernando or a Mason Miller or whatever for a lot of prospects.
Yeah, I'm with you. I didn't take it as necessarily that's what it meant as far as, they're going to move a Fernando. They're going to move a Mason Miller. They're going to move a Jackson Merrill. Like somebody that would just sort of, you would be like, whoa, right? Change the franchise. I don't know that I put Miller in that category. Disrespect Mason. He's amazing. But as a reliever,
pitcher, it's hard to get a lot of things back.
If we got a notification on our phones that Fernando or Merrill were getting traded, that would be a franchise-altering move. That's what I mean. I'm not saying they're doing that, but the point is, I don't think that what he wrote necessarily means that is the big thing. To your point, could it be a trade that's a need for a need at the major league level? Could it be a trade that is, look, I know the system, the farm system is not what it was a year ago, not what it was this summer. However, there still are chips there. There's still a big chip in Ethan Salas there. And could you look at a move where they grab what's left and go, get a big guy and they push, they push aggressively? Certainly could be as well. So, Braden, to your point, I think there's a lot of ways you could interpret that, and so we'll see if any of that transpires here at the winter meetings. I don't know that it's going to. The more we're here, the more I think this may end up being a similar meetings, well, not similar meetings, but similar offseason to what the Padres have had the last couple of years, where this is late moving, where this is looking towards late January, early February, and striking them like they did with Profar, like they did with Pivetta the last couple of years. So we'll see.
We're talking with Sam Levitt, who's live at the winter meetings in Orlando, talking about everything Padres and everything else going on in Major League Baseball. Rumor mill's starting to heat up a little bit. Hot stove starting to heat up a little bit as well. I do want to add to that point. I mean, a lot of the times, the Padres right now are massively in the trade market, I would say, more than the free agent market. At least that's what a lot of the reports are going. And again, to point out, just because you're talking to a lot of people doesn't mean you align on a lot of trades. I mean, we've seen AJ Preller be rumored to have a lot of deals in place and nothing happens at the winter meetings or even at trade deadlines. We've seen that before. So, Sam, just to kind of add to that and let you explain more. I mean, just because there's conversations doesn't mean any of these are going to happen.
No, not at all. I mean, AJ described it yesterday as day one of the meetings, and we've seen this not the year before when they traded Soto, because that was a big move at the meetings, but certainly last year, where it seemed to be just a much different kind of winter meetings, from the sense of it was like a fact-finding mission. I don't know if fact-finding's the right way to put it. More like, let me rephrase it. Like they were like sponges, right? They were absorbing information. They were getting information on what might be out there, on the interest in their players, on what else they could do. So, you're right. Just because you're having conversations and there are some rumors swirling around this time of year does not mean anything is imminent to happen. And, look, we'll see. We've seen all different kinds of meetings, although those were different. I mean, the signing of Bogarts, Padres aren't going to make a move like that right now. The trade of Soto, we knew that was in all likelihood coming. We just didn't know when, and it did happen at the meetings. I'd be shocked if there's a move of that magnitude, even with Kevin's reporting. But I do firmly believe they are listening on a variety of things, whether that be in the free agent market or certainly in the trade market as well.
We haven't gotten to the sound yet on the show, but you talked with Scott Boras a little bit today.
Yeah.
Asked him specifically about the Padres. What was your conversation like with Scott?
Yeah, well, look, I had the opportunity, saw it, took it, and asked him about his view on what's going on with the Padres, right? A team that's exploring an ownership change. It seemed that, in years prior with his clients, Xander Bogaerts being one of them, obviously they traded for Soto, but he was, certainly in communication with the Padres front office during that process as well. Asked him his thoughts about the Padres and what will happen with them organizationally. And essentially Scott Boras said, he hopes that, he first started very complimentary of San Diego and the fan base and the support and what Peter built. Peter Seidler built with the Padres, built a platform and did it so well. And essentially expressed, as you would predict, his desire for both current ownership and potentially new ownership to continue investing in the team. That San Diego is a city and a fan base that deserves to continue their quote unquote postseason ways. So I don't think that he said anything to me that was very surprising, because I think Scott would like every major league team to spend like the Padres were over the course of the last decade or so. But he had a very base level expressed the desire of current and potentially new ownership to continue being aggressive. Are the Padres going to be nearly as active as they were free agency wise right now? Probably not, if we're being honest about how this is probably going to go this offseason. But hopefully at some point they're back to investing in the free agent market at that kind of level again.
We're talking with Sam Levitt, who's live at the Winter Meetings in Orlando, Florida, talking everything Padres as well as Major League Baseball. Kyle Schwarber was the big bat to go. It sounded like he was going to set the market this week and really for the remainder of the offseason. We talked about on the show about free agency probably kicking up after he signed, but it sounds like there's a lot of reports that it might open up the trade market a little bit. We saw Joel Sherman tweet out about Ketel Marte potentially getting moved today by the Arizona Diamondbacks. Jesse Rogers tweeted out that the Red Sox, Cubs, and Padres are all coming up often as teams that could make a deal soon. Does it feel like there might be a flurry of trades in the next 48 hours?
Maybe. Hard to say. I mean, does the Schwarber piece open up everything else? I don't know. I mean, Diaz certainly. Could you see a guy like Robert Suarez sign at some point here soon? Because Diaz signed and you get a reliever off the board and that kind of sets the market. Sure. Hard to say, Braden, honestly. I mean, if this is going to be sort of a flurry of moves here, but typically when you do have some pieces start to come off the board, and more importantly, the market starts to get set, that's when you see those kinds of things. I think, to your point, you brought up the name, the Ketel Marte situation. It's kind of fascinating. I mean, he's a really good player. He kind of gets, I would say, hidden a little bit in Arizona. I think we all know how good of a player he is, but, I put him and Geraldo Perdomo as two guys who, if they played for different teams in different markets, probably would be more household names. Even though Marte, I think in the NL West, we all understand how good he is. So it's a bit of a fascinating one. He would be great for a lot of teams. And, we'll see how it transpires. But hard to say, if this will lead to a flurry of moves, but certainly help set the market at the very least, right? When you have two pretty significant deals in place here in the early part of the day.
What's the schedule like for the rest of the day? What's on Sam Levitt's radar that we can be paying attention to for social media and other types of content?
Yeah, AJ Preller will speak in less than a couple of hours, so we'll have the video and audio from that. We'll see what AJ has to say today. Continue gathering some stuff here from around the building, so we can get to talk on camera. So that'll be fun. Do my little circles around the lobby here. So we'll continue to do that. What else we got? Tomorrow we got the manager breakfast tomorrow. It's a big one with Craig Stammen. First Craig Stammen manager breakfast. So we'll get to have breakfast with the skipper and continue to monitor here. Look, I think, we've had, in my time covering the Padres now, we've had all different kinds of winter meetings. This one to this point is kind of similar to last year, where from a Padres standpoint, there's not a ton going on. Now, I think we had a little bit more rumor-wise so far this year than last year. When you talk about the reporting on Pivetta, what Kevin wrote, it does get your mind thinking a little bit. Like, I think back to last year, there really wasn't a whole lot. I mean, we sort of wondered, like, for a little bit, could they try to trade for Garrett Crochet? That was being thrown around a little bit if they were going to get really aggressive and end up trading guys like Salas and DeVries for Crochet. But if no moves on the Padres front are made and we continue to kind of swirl around the rumor mill, things get a little bit repetitive, admittedly. But we'll see. Look, I think the winter meetings, it is it's to be here, it's to talk to people, it's to get content. Certainly, hear everybody talk during their scheduled availabilities. But more than anything, guys, it's also to be here when stuff happens, right? Like, when they trade Juan Soto at 10 p.m. at night, you got to be there. And, and certainly we've had things like that happen. So I do feel like a common thread amongst people here is if your team is doing a lot, it can be remarkably interesting. But if there's not a whole lot going on, you're sort of standing around waiting for something to happen. So we'll see.
Who's winning the battle right now, Wi-Fi or Sam Levitt?
Oh, me. I figured it out. Yeah, I figured it out. Well, I'll tell you what, we is this my room key that just popped out? No, this is one on the floor. There's a room key on my foot here. Sorry. I don't know whose that is. But no, we adjusted today a little bit. We did have major Wi-Fi problems yesterday in the early to late afternoon. Adam Klug was not happy with me.
It's not your fault, man. It's the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, well,
blame the mouse. When in Orlando, you got to blame the mouse.
I gotta figure it out. So, but today, I'll tell you what I did today. I've not set up in the media room today. In fact, my hotel room is very close to the main part of the lobby, and I've kind of designated this spot that you see me in here in the lobby as my radio hit spot.
It's the Sam Levitt area.
Yeah, it's easy. Honestly, it's easier to have my laptop up there. I bring this stuff down, do my hits. It's not very fun. It's fine. So I'm operating from room, lobby, the building, and the point is the Wi-Fi in the room is much better. So we'll stay in the hotel room for today. As far for an uploading purpose.
Perspective. Yeah, we appreciate it.
And it's also super cold in the media room. Like, you have no idea.
No, you're going to get a cold.
Coldest place in America.
Yeah,
yes,
Orlando, Florida. Florida's meeting rooms at the hotel.
I'm out of there.
That's way colder than Baltimore, where Frank and I will be at the later of the week. I saw a low of 25 and got a little afraid.
Ooh.
So we'll see.
Frank, make sure you bring your winter coat.
I will be ready to go and loving every second of it.
It's going to be great.
All
right, Sam, we'll let you get going. Thanks again for joining us. We appreciate the insight. We'll be passing along all the content that you put out there and look forward to talking to you again tomorrow.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Sam Levitt joining us live in Orlando, Florida. We figured out the Wi-Fi issues. We figured all the other stuff out. Sam Levitt's got his little place cornered out in the lobby. He was unfazed by the Mickey Mouse drop.
He was.
Huh.
I'm not surprised though. He's a professional.
I know, but even on camera, like nothing like a.
You got to think. Think. Do you really think that that's honestly going to mess with him when he has to do pre and post game amongst a bunch of people in the Western Metal Supply Building?
I usually don't hear any of those people, but I also don't have it in my headset. He had me doing a Mickey Mouse impersonation in his headset in the middle of an interview. That had to have been like, what was that? Is the mouse here? 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. As we mentioned before, all guests on 97 through the Fan join us on the David P. Shapiro Fan Hotline. David P. Shapiro, criminal defense attorneys helping good people regain control of their future when charged with the crime. Since 2010, visit davidpshapirolaw.com. Sam did catch up with Dennis Lynn earlier today. What did Dennis have to say? We'll talk about it when we come back. We'll get your phone calls as we continue our coverage of the winter meetings here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97 through the Fan. It's hour 97 to the fans, brought to you by Mission Fed. From first accounts to big life moments, Mission Fed can help. Saving shouldn't be stressful. Mission Fed makes it easier with great rates on savings, certificates, and ultra money market accounts. Grow your money the smart way. Check the latest rates and open an account at missionfed.com. Membership and account criteria apply. It's a fun week for us on the fan. Army Navy at the end of the week. We got winter meetings going on for most of the week. We got Padres news. If that, a lot of stuff going on in the sports world. As we cover the winter meetings, now a lot of it, we talked with Sam about this. And again, a lot of it is rumors and he said, she said, until things start actually coming together. It's hard to evaluate. I mean, the stuff from Kevin Acee yesterday was interesting. But as mentioned before, getting a lot of reports throughout the day. And earlier today, Sam Levitt was joined by Dennis Lin and had a lot to report.
Just hold on 1 second here.
On that. 1 second. And he had a lot of interesting things about the Nick Pivetta deal and what the rumors were on that. I mean, he reported that before the winter meeting started. He had that on Sunday. And we're going to get to the payroll philosophy for 2026 in a little bit, and some of the competitive outlooks and a lot of other things that were put into Kevin Acee's article that are very interesting about the San Diego Padres. But trying to get to, there it is. Throwing it up. Here's Sam Levitt with Dennis Lin earlier today.
Here at the baseball winter meetings in Orlando as we continue our coverage on 97.3 The Fan. And right now I'm joined by Dennis Lin of The Athletic, who covers the San Diego Padres. Dennis, you wrote yesterday morning that the Padres might be exploring the idea of shopping somebody like a Nick Pivetta to free up some payroll, maybe get pieces back to complete this roster. What can you tell us about the situation with Pivetta and the idea of the Padres potentially exploring that?
Well, I wouldn't say they're necessarily shopping him. They're definitely listening on him. And the number one thing when you say the Padres are listening is AJ Preller always listens on everybody. I mean, he famously said, I think at one of these winter meetings, if I can get 2 Tatises for 1 Tatis, I always listen. But the thing is, the Padres don't have a lot of money to spend. Maybe we're all speculating here, right? But just informed speculation, maybe $10 to $20 million. That's not a lot of money given the price of starting pitching on the open market, trade market. So I think the question is, if not Pivetta, who would they trade to kind of free up money to fill out this roster? Because right now it's a little bit unbalanced in the starting rotation, as everyone knows. And Pivetta is going to make $19 million, $20 million next year, and probably going to walk after the year, assuming he has a decent year and stays healthy. So that's something they're going to consider, something they are considering, from what I understand. And I wouldn't call it likely, but again, the question is, who would they trade if not him?
Let's explore that a little bit further, because it is AJ Preller. We're accustomed to him making big-time moves, whether it is trading somebody away to get pieces back, whether it's acquiring big-time, valuable talent. What's your sense of at least the idea that either way the Padres could do something pretty big at some point this offseason?
They could do something big anytime AJ Preller is still their general manager. So I think there are players out there that he would still very much like. The question is, does he have enough left to get them? And if he doesn't have enough, what kind of crazy trade he's going to make to give himself enough flexibility. I know Mackenzie Gore is someone he's always loved. He was very emotional, I think, personally, when he traded him away for Juan Soto, but it was Juan Soto. So that was why he made that trade. Gore is still out there. I don't know if they have enough to get him, but if they can trade someone else and get prospects back in return to maybe go out and acquire Mackenzie Gore, or if they can, shoot even higher potentially, that's all on the table with AJ Preller. It's just a matter of how he's going to do it.
As far as the money they have to spend, just from a purely free agent standpoint, assuming that the numbers you have are what the actual numbers end up being by the time the offseason completes itself, from a free agent standpoint, what sort of pool do you see the Padres swimming in as far as free agency?
Well, you see the pool they're swimming in right now. They're signing minor league free agent types to, very inexpensive major league deals. I would expect to see a similar approach as last offseason when they kind of just waited out the market, at least for free agency. And I think they only made one trade last offseason. They paid cash for Ron Marinaccio. But I would expect a lot of just these lower tier signings. If someone pops at the end, like Nick Pivetta did, or Jurickson Profar did late in spring training a couple years ago, that's certainly on the table. But again, free agency is really expensive these days. Again, but so is the trade market. So I think, if there's a Nick Pivetta-like bargain out there toward the end of spring training, that might be something more that they're looking to do.
The last couple of off seasons have been slow moving, right? The Profar move comes late in 23, Pivetta move comes late in 24. In all likelihood, do you think that's what this looks like again, where this is another sort of late moving off season heading towards spring training?
Yeah, that's the general sense around just the industry, other teams too. I mean, things could, I guess, accelerate here if Kyle Schwarber signs in the next couple of weeks, but it's the sense is it's going to be a slow market, and not a lot of teams are super willing to spend a ton of money, especially with some uncertainty on the labor front a year from now. So I think it's not the most exciting winter meetings, but there has been a lot of obviously rumors and talk, and that's a normal thing, especially when AJ Preller is involved.
Lots of interesting stuff to unpack with Dennis Lin right there as he joined Sam Levitt out there at the winter meetings. Now, a lot of that stuff is some of the things that we talked about earlier in the show today. I've been trying to find different pieces, trying to find different avenues to improve this roster. Dennis Lin said the budget about $20 million. And Dennis Lin is right when it comes to starting pitching. You're not going to get good starting pitching for $20 million. And if you have $20 million to spend, we said like $20 to $30 million the last couple of weeks. If you have $20 million to spend with the cost of starting pitching, and you got to fill starting pitching and a bat, a power bat, and maybe, the bullpen help's probably done at this point. That's not a lot of money to work with. And again, the Padres said that they're going to be relatively in the same payroll they were last year. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. But that's why there's a lot of trade rumors, Frank, because you look at the value, you look at the money they have willing to spend and what the holes that they have, it's going to have to be through some trades.
Yeah, that's if you're going to, we've said that for a while now, that if you are going to rebuild this team, if you're going to make it a competitor again, that this is how you're going to have to do it. You were going to have to go through the trade market. You were going to have to dip in deeper into that prospect capital that you somehow always seem to have, and we're going to have to get a deal done. And that's how it's proving this year that it's going to have to be for this team.
So we'll have more sound and information coming out as we get more updates from Sam Levitt out there in Orlando. I mean, just tons of information and a lot of rumors. I mean, this is kind of the start of the build now around the winter meetings. We're going to get more information, as the days go on, and you never know when you're going to see. This is the scrolling Twitter month or week, or if you're a baseball fan, this week and the trade deadline. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. We're going to take your phone calls, get to the sports thread when we come back. Also, talk a little bit about what the payroll situation might look like as reported by Kevin Acee last night. We'll talk about that when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show, San Antonio Sports Station 97.3 The Fan. Remember to listen to us at 1:00 to announce today's biggest fan for a chance to qualify for a night in our Odyssey suite at a future Padres game with all of the fan staff. Register your name at 973thefansd.com/biggest fan in order to potentially have your name called. We're also going to be giving away Aztec tickets in the 1:00 hour. Aztecs basketball as they take on Lamar tomorrow at Viejas Arena. Lot to get to still. We're going to get to the sports thread in just a little bit, but do want to get back to your phone calls, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Let's get out to Kevin in Chula Vista. Kevin, you're on the Braden Surprenant Show. What's going on?
Hey, Bray. God, it's hot, isn't it?
Yeah. Did you know it's December?
Man, I tell you what, baseball weather, that's what it is. So not complaining, but what the heck. So let's get back to a couple of things here that you've been talking about, and I appreciate the conversation. First of all, Padres say they're not going to spend any more money, but then they say they're spending the same amount as last year. The qualifier to that is that what we do know is that 2/3 to 3/4 of their payroll is tied up continually on the same 5 players. So that's a big qualifier in which they're basically saying we're stuck in these contracts, we can't get out of them, and we're not able or willing to go any further. That's a problem. Secondly, as it relates to the sports, I guess, media that is hanging out looking for something to do at the winter meetings, I would basically warn everybody to consider the sources. These guys have got too much time on their hands for an event that really, to date, hasn't produced a whole heck of a lot, and it's probably not going to. So I would caution and just say, folks, enjoy the weather, relax. We'll find out what the Padres are going to do on day one of the season. And then up until that time, I mean, no one of these folks that are making all these bold predictions like Harold Reynolds, has he ever held accountable, Braden? I mean, seriously, to the things that they're saying, it's just guys that have too much time in their hands. And it is what it is. I understand they have a job to do, but we just have to keep that in mind.
Thanks. Appreciate the phone call, Kevin. There's a lot of stuff that comes out at these winter meetings, and we got Sam out there, and we got there's got to be a lot of rumors that circle around, and the people that love baseball love diving into some of this stuff. I like diving into it too, but you can fan the other way you want. I mean, for a lot of people, they could just wait for for spring training, wait for the moves to happen. But I like all of it. I mean, I like the tea, man. It's good stuff, Frank. I like the tea.
Yeah, I mean, if you get anything out of this week, it's you get to see at least the direction that some teams are going. You hear a lot of rumors that you wouldn't normally hear around the off season, and sometimes it materializes, sometimes it doesn't. Things happen that surprise you. Other things go like the Schwarber thing today, where you more or less knew that he was going to be going back to Philadelphia. So, I mean, if you don't get the big signings, if you don't get the names, if you don't get the flurry of activity that, of course, you want as a baseball fan, you at least get some knowledge as to where your team is headed and the direction that they're going and some of the things that they're looking and trying to do to make the team better.
Jeff Passan reports that the Angels are acquiring infielder Vaughn Grissom in a trade with the Red Sox. Does that move you at all?
No, I'm in 2029 and he's been in AAA the entire time. So no, I don't care.
Doesn't move you.
Nope.
No, it doesn't move me either. Dan in Arizona, you're on the Braden Surprenant Show. What's going on, Dan? Dan, are you there? Dan is not there. We'll see you, buddy. All right, time to get to our sports thread. What else is going on in professional sports, college sports, everything that's not the San Diego Padres?
You know that group chat? The one that's always blowing up with the biggest sports takes, debates, and breaking news?
You got barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me?
Yeah, we've got that too. Welcome to the Sports Thread, where we break down the top 5 stories in sports, just like you would with your crew.
Oh, no! Disaster! What a bad idea!
No filters, no silence, just real talk. Brought to you by QC Kinetics. Stop sitting on the sidelines. QC Kinetics gets you back in the game without surgery. To learn how, visit QCkinetics.com.
All right, Frank, what do we got going on today?
Well, this is a story that just dropped. The end of college football as we know it.
Number one.
The University of Utah is finalizing a landmark private equity partnership that would be the first of its kind in college athletics. According to Yahoo Sports, this article is written by Carter Bonds, I believe, on CBSSports.com. According to Yahoo Sports, Utah is set to enter an agreement with a New York-based firm, Atro Capital, I guess that would be it, that will help generate an estimated $500 million for the school's athletic department. Utah received clearance from the NCAA to enter the partnership. It must abide by certain stipulations to remain an NCAA member, though. For instance, University President Taylor Randall and Athletic Director Mark Harlan must retain majority of the decision-making control. With the groundbreaking deal comes the creation of a for-profit entity that will operate the Utes athletics outside of the university. Utah Brands and Entertainment, LLC, will exist as an independent offshoot of the athletic department co-owned by the university and Atro Capital. The school will be the majority owner and possess decision-making authority, while Atro Capital earns a percentage of the company's annual revenue. Utah has just entered a deal with the devil that could change the landscape of college football forever.
Yeah. They have approved the private equity plan for athletics. And I would not be surprised if more schools don't follow suit.
Yep.
It's fascinating
now that
stuff.
it's been done. You
Right.
always need one. You always need a guinea pig.
It's amazing what people will do for money. Right? I mean, I don't know how this works out for Utah in the long run. I mean, the short term is going to be great. They're getting all this money. They're getting this influx of money. Everything's going to be great. But what are we doing here? I can't believe a institution, my state-funded institution, by the way, University of Utah, public school. I can't imagine. I mean, this is crazy. It's crazy.
It's unthinkable. It really is. I mean, this is professional sports now. It's not college athletics. You have been bought by a private equity firm. It's over. You cannot say that this is college athletics anymore.
Well, you could have not said that for a long time. There's a lot of things that need to be fixed with college athletics, and a lot of them are they use the amateurism to not put in all the rules needed to make it a competitive thing. And so now you have they sold their athletic department for $500 million.
They sold their school's athletic department to a private equity firm. They do not own, that school does not own its athletic department solely anymore.
We've seen so many great things. Don't so many great things happen with private equity?
Oh, yeah.
So many great things.
Nothing has ever gone wrong, selling to private equity firms. I wonder if Mr. Wonderful was a part of the deal. I know he'd approve of it. I wonder if he was a part of this deal. Maybe Mark Cuban is in on this company.
So the company's going to manage the entire revenue operation of Utah Athletics. Atro Capital, the New York-based private equity firm, will become a minority owner of and operational manager of the athletic department. The university retains majority control via the University of Utah Growth Capital Partners Foundation. Otro will run ticket sales, media and broadcast rights strategy, stadium events, concessions, trademarks, licensing, and merchandising. But Utah Athletics still controls the student-athlete experience, scholarships, coaches, fundraising, and NCAA compliance. This is effectively outsourcing much of the revenue-generating engine to a for-profit firm, something unheard of in major college athletics until now.
They've sold off any amount of profit that they are going to get for the foreseeable future until the $500 million is paid back.
Well,
that's
the school officials did not publicly say how much Otro is investing, but Yahoo Sports reports that the partnership could generate up to $500 million to the athletic department. Deal is expected to be fully finalized in early of 2026. It is going to be the largest private equity-driven revenue play in college athletics to date. This is what happens when you lose to your rival in BYU.
Yeah, especially in Mormon country, it just did lose your mind. It's unbelievable.
They listed, by the way,
that was a joke, by the way.
They listed in there like why Utah's doing this. Rising costs in college sports driven by the House First NCAA settlement, allowing schools to pay athletes up to $20.5 million annually, conference realignment, financial pressure, growing deficits nationwide. They listed the projected deficits and the deficits of, how about this?
Conference realignment. You're in a Power 4 conference.
No, but the financial pressure of they had to move and they had to pay back the Pac-12.
They didn't have to.
I know. Well, they needed to because they weren't going to get the TV deal with the Pac-12. But anyway, they said that Ohio State's in a $37.7 million deficit. That's Ohio State. Ohio State's like one of the biggest college athletic programs in the country. They're in a $37.7 million deficit.
All because idiots like me wanted a video game.
Yeah. Utah's concerns are competing financially in the Big 12, which lags behind the SEC and Big 10 in TV revenue, preserving non-revenue in Olympic sports, especially women's sports. They think they have to cut them unless they bring in private equity.
Yeah, I'll
He draws the foul.
We might have to talk about that later in the week.
I'll take the foul for wanting a video game. My bad.
Number 2.
There you go.
Indiana quarterback Fernando Mendoza was named a Heisman Trophy finalist just 2 days after leading the Hoosiers to their first Big Ten title in 58 years. He is joined by Vanderbilt's Diego Pavia, Notre Dame's Jeremiah Love, and Ohio State's Julian Sayin. So congratulations to Julian Sayin being named a Heisman Trophy finalist. Mendoza is the heavy betting favorite. Boosted his case by defeating Sayin in the Big Ten championship to secure Indiana's spot as the number 1 seed in the college football playoff. Each finalist has had standout seasons, with Pavia setting Vanderbilt records, Love breaking Notre Dame's touchdown marks, and Sayin posting the highest completion rate in college football history. Who do you think is going to get the Heisman Trophy? It's announced Saturday.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That is Saturday, isn't it? They always do it on the Army-Navy Day. I think it's Mendoza. I think it's Indiana's quarterback. I think he's done the most and has done the best. I mean, if Julian Sayin won the Big Ten championship game and got a perfect undefeated season, he'd probably be the favorite. But I think that game kind of hurts him.
As a true freshman, no?
No, he played last year.
Okay, so
he didn't start last year, but
he's
a sophomore.
Is he a sophomore or a redshirt freshman?
He could be a redshirt. No, I don't know. He played last year. I'd have to check.
I
mean,
it's
you can play 4
less,
games.
Yeah.
But I don't know how many years he's been there. I mean, I think it's been 2 years now. This is the second year. Maybe he's a redshirt freshman.
Yeah, if he didn't...
He's not a true freshman. I know that because he played in games last year.
Oh, so there you go.
But, I mean, does anybody care about the Heisman Trophy anymore?
All right.
Are you going to tune into that and watch it? When's the last time you watched the Heisman Trophy presentation?
I couldn't tell you.
Couldn't tell you. Exactly. I don't care.
My uncle's trying to get me tickets to John Cena's last match after the Army-Navy game, so I might be going to D.C.
Number 3.
There you go.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are signing veteran pass rusher Jason Pierre-Paul to their practice squad after a successful tryout. Pierre-Paul, 36, previously starred for the Tampa Bay Bucks from 2018 to 2021 and was part of their Super Bowl championship team. His signing comes as the Bucks deal with an ankle injury to starter Hassan Reddick. Paul, who last played in 2023, has 94 and a half career sacks and a long history of overcoming major injuries, including the 2015 firework accident and a 2019 neck fracture. Is this a sign of how weak the free agent class is, that the Bucks are going for Jason Pierre-Paul and now the Colts have signed Phillip Rivers?
I mean, it's just everything you need to know about what they think about the backups and these areas. I mean, the JPP one is crazier to me because quarterbacks are different. Like you can come back and play quarterback at a higher age if you want to take a couple of hits. They're well protected, and you need a good quarterback to make it through. The JPP story is crazy to me.
Are you down with JPP?
As long as he doesn't shoot off fireworks. There it is. Noon lunchtime hour when we come back.
up. From the beaches to the ballparks, from the Gaslamp to North County, no one knows America's finest city like he does.
You can't just punt on a Manny Machado prime use.
He's a fourth-generation San Diegan, born and raised in the heart of this community. Passionate, opinionated, and always bringing you the real talk on your teams, your city, and everything in between.
Braden totally knows his stuff. He's ready for the next step. That guy is good.
Live and local, it's the Braden Surprenant Show.
But I think Braden's one of the up-and-coming young stars in the media game in San Diego.
Now, here's your host, Braden Surprenant.
New lunchtime hour on 97.3 The Fans. Get you ready for more news and notes around. Now, there you go. There it is. Yeah, you know me on the tweet.
Yeah, thank you.
I knew that's what I liked. My answer better. It's funnier. JPP. I can't believe that guy's playing football still. A lot of winter meetings news and notes for you as we get more information from.
You saw the two signings today and said that JPP is the one that surprises you is still playing.
Yeah. Quarterbacks are different, dude. Like, you need a good quarterback. Phillip Rivers is a good quarterback. And the other thing is, like, you're not going to get hurt as bad. It's just slightly different. A defensive lineman? I mean, are you kidding me?
Dodgers are making more moves.
Who are the Dodgers signing now?
As of 26 minutes ago, former Twins manager Rocco Baldelli is joining the Dodgers organization as the special assistant to the general manager.
So he's Dwight Schrute of the Dodgers now?
Sure.
Assistant to the general manager? Sources said to Ken Rosenthal the Orioles matched the Phillies' offer for Kyle Schwarber. Reds were also at 5 years. This is what I'm talking about with some of these deals. Pirates in on Kyle Schwarber. Yeah, okay, sure. Orioles in on Kyle Schwarber. Oh, well, it's going to come close.
If they match the deal, then that just means he wanted to go to Philadelphia. He was using them as leverage to go to Philadelphia, which is fair.
Is there anything... Like, does anybody contest the sources at some of these places when Ken Rosenthal asked what your offer was and just be like, oh, yeah, we were kind of close. We kind of offered the same thing. I mean, it's not in writing.
Right,
it's not like the agents are gonna talk about it. I mean, if you're the Pirates, think about this. If you're the Pirates.
But with what Baltimore has done this offseason, they have no reason to lie. They've gone out, they've spent some money already this offseason. So, like, Baltimore, I would believe.
No, I don't believe Baltimore.
Okay.
How much money have they spent? I know they've made some trades.
Yeah, they've gone out. They've gotten some guys to help that team. They've at least done something to make me believe that they actually legitimately are in on this.
Their biggest
Pittsburgh,
sign,
I don't believe.
Their biggest sign was the Ryan Helsley thing.
Pittsburgh, I wouldn't believe.
Signing a bullpen piece does not move me that much. I mean, they
it's
still
one of the top bullpen pieces out there.
I know, but bullpen pieces are cheaper than everything else. They need to go if they want to like say that they're spending money. A bullpen piece is not. Well, hey, look, we spent all this money. I think a lot of these organizations like to throw their name out there that they have put in offers just to appease some of their fans.
Yeah, and like I said, with Pittsburgh and with Oaklamento, I understand that. But with Baltimore, who has actually spent some form of money this offseason, I would believe the rumored offer.
I disagree. I don't think they've spent enough to make it justify what they're doing. I really don't. To convince me that they were actually in on this guy. It's all the same. It's all the same teams every single year. It's like, we just came up just close.
I don't believe anyone was really in on Kyle Schwarber. I think he used whatever conversations he had as leverage to go back to Philadelphia and say, hey, can you get me this?
Them being in on Kyle Schwarber and them being a landing spot are two totally different things. Like, they could be in on him, but he's not in on them.
Yeah, exactly.
Was different.
Especially, do you want to hear this all season?
Hey, Birdland.
Actually, you know what? That's a pretty good selling point.
Yeah, what? Why were you using that as a negative? We love the Hey Birdland guy. That's a mistake on their part.
You said that as if it was some random dude that we
I know.
clipped.
He's Hey
That's
Birdland
the
guy.
manager.
I know that. He's Hey Birdland guy. It's awesome. But anyway, so they said like they were close, like the Reds. Are you kidding me? The Reds were never going to sign him.
No.
It's all the same teams that say we were close, and this is what they're going to do. They're going to say they were close, and then during the CBA, they're going to be like, "See, we tried our best to get these guys. We just can't do it. It's not fair." Come on, it's all part of a play here for some of these teams. All right, I wanted to dive into some of the notes we got from Kevin Acee that wasn't just the whole they're looking to go big thing for the Padres. Let's talk about the payroll philosophy for 2026. Okay. And this is, and somebody put in the chat, I mean, the payroll is kind of give and take. We've seen Kevin Acee talk about that they would never, there's been years where there have been reports from, and it's not just Kevin, but there's been reports from entities that have said the Padres don't have money to spend this year. And then they go out and they give out a contract extension to Jackson Merrill, or they go sign somebody. This year, it's a little bit different. Now, I kind of this year makes a little bit more sense in terms of what has been reported. Chairman John Seidler says the Padres plan to spend at similar levels to 2025. You know what? They've been kind of business as usual the last handful of years. I don't think anybody can really argue with that. Padres have spent money. They have. And they've been a top 10 payroll in the last handful of years. Now, I think it's worth to be said, and Kevin from Chula Vista brought it up, and it makes sense. I mean, a lot of the money has been already spent. It's almost going to be impossible for them not to be a top 10 payroll just by all of the contracts that continue to go up in money. I think that's fair to say. But it sounds like they're going to get, from what Dennis Lin was saying with Sam Levitt to other reports, $20 million, $20 to $30 million might be in the range for the Padres when it comes to how much they have to spend. And again, business as usual is what they continue to say. Padres payroll last year in 2025 was $211 million. This year, it's already $201 million. In 2024, as I get another black screen on the computer, it was $169 million. And the year before that, in 2023, it was $255. I mean, they've been relatively around the same kind of threshold based on averages that have been a top 10 payroll. Top 10 payroll, again, is what they expect to be. They're expected to be over the luxury tax again. Padres will pay the penalty for the fifth time in 6 years. Their 2024 payroll was $224 million. 2023 was $295, according to the report from Kevin Acee. So different numbers than what Fangraphs had, which was the highest ever. Also caused MLB debt rule issues. Despite being MLB's smallest media market, San Diego's averaged a $220 million payroll from 2021 to 2025 versus a $61 to $96 million payroll in averages for small market teams since the early for themselves since the early 2010s. Ownership insists the team sale will not impact spending. I look at this and I look at the roster and I go, they're going to make a couple of moves, I think, to bring the payroll down so they can use that money to fill a lot of different holes that they potentially have. I mean, they're going to be a top 10 payroll, I think, as long as Machado, Bogarts, and Fernando are part of this roster.
I would believe that. I mean, we see so much about what the Padres do as far as salary and what the plans are as far as salary. I'm kind of with Kevin on that one. I don't want to project. I want to wait and see what they do before we really start diving in, because reports have been hit and miss with the Padres as far as the payroll's been concerned over the last couple of years.
I just don't think they're going to shed a ton of payroll. I think they might.
No.
If they do trade away players that have contracts and free up some money, I think they're going to immediately spend said money.
Yeah, no, they're not gonna. Let's just say, for argument's sake, they get Xander Bogaerts off the books. They
or
are not,
any of their big contracts.
Yeah,
that
they're
might
not they're not pocketing that money.
No.
They're turning it into 2, maybe 3 different pieces.
And again, the ownership insists the team sale will not impact spending. I think that's going to be the case.
I believe that as well.
Competitive outlook as laid out by Kevin Acee. Padres are attempting a franchise first 3 straight playoff appearances. Isn't that crazy too in itself?
Yeah.
We had the guy call in earlier today about it's like, fire AJ Preller. They've made the playoffs 4 of the last 6 years. Before that, the Padres have only made the playoffs 5 times ever. The Padres have never made the playoffs 3 years in a row.
And minus a roller coaster season in 2023. I think now that Mike Schultz no longer here, we can use that term.
You can use that term again, roller coaster. I was using it anyway.
This could be year 5 in a row that you could be going to the playoffs.
If you look at the Padres had only made the playoffs back-to-back seasons one other time. That was 05 and 06 when they won the division. By the way, do you know what their record was in 05 when they won the division?
No.
82 and 80.
There it is.
82 and 80 when they won the division in 05. But again, the Padres, for the second time in their history, made the playoffs. This season, second time in their history, made the playoffs in back-to-back seasons. They're trying to make the playoffs in 3 years in a row for the first time ever. Yeah, we got people going like, this is not working. We got to get rid of this guy. It's not sustainable. Sustainable. 4 of the last 6 years, 3 out of the last 4 years, and we're like, this ain't working. We can't do this. Can't have it. In terms of their competitive outlook, Padres are attempting a franchise first, like we mentioned before, the 3 straight playoff appearances. 8 position player regulars are set to return. That's got to be new. It's the last time the Padres had that. Their bullpen is mostly intact. They've already added 2 pieces to fit that. 8 position players are back. Only 3 established starting pitchers, though. Starting pitching is their major problem, and they need 2 veteran starters minimum. Rotation remains the major offseason pressure point. Now, how are you going to address that? That leads into this third point that Kevin Acee had in the article that we talked about at the beginning of the show, because to me, this is the biggest talking point of the Padres right now at the winter meetings. How are you going to be able to find starting pitching and stay around the $200-something million that you're currently at? Padres have spent $211 million last year, according to Fangraphs. I think that's pre-taxes and all that other stuff. If they're going to be at that, around that level, as Dennis Lin talked about with Sam earlier today, you get, it's like 20 to 30 million to me is like at the top end of the budget. You're looking around $20 million to spend. Frank, how much does it cost to get a veteran starting pitcher that's going to be pretty good?
Minimum 20.
Probably around $20 million.
Which is obscene.
It is. Sean Manaea signed for like $20-something million.
5.
Which is absurd. Nick Martinez would probably cost you around 15 to 17, maybe close to $20 million. I mean, you start looking at starting pitching and you start looking at the good arms that might be available. You're going over budget. I mean, it's like, well, we don't need the top guys. Let's look at, like, what about a Merrill Kelly? Well, that's potentially 16 out of your $20 million. You still need a DH or first baseman / power hitter. You still need one of those. What about a Zach Gallen? That's got to cost you $22 million a year. What about a Zach Eflin or a Chris Bassett? $18 million a year, $15 million a year. It's got to cost you a lot of money. So what do you got to do? If you don't have the money to spend on payroll for a free agent pickup, what's the other avenue? Aside from developing your own pitchers or bringing somebody up from the lower levels, which, by the way, you do not currently have. Most of the guys that we have talked about and that Jeff Sanders has put out in articles of farm system help have been players that are in the low A's. Low A, high A, AA max. They're all super young. So what do you have to do, Frank?
Trade.
According to Kevin Acee, multiple insiders describe A.J. Preller as, quote, frantically working the phones, operating on multiple major trade fronts, pursuing deals that could rival or surpass the Juan Soto Trent Grisham blockbuster. Staffers claim potential moves, quote, would make the last two trade deadlines pale in comparison. Specific targets not publicly known. We get this a lot. We get this a lot from a lot of teams. Now, the difference is A.J. Preller is a madman and will go out there and make some crazy trades. Not crazy and I can't believe he's doing this. This is foolish. Crazy and like, I can't believe he just pulled this thing off. I didn't even think you could think this way. I mean, how many times in our time covering the Padres has A.J. Preller brought in somebody on a trade that you didn't even know was available? Didn't even know he was available.
A non-insignificant amount of times.
And even did that with managers. You're like, Bob Melvin was available via trade? No idea.
Josh Hader was really the first one that I can remember, at least in my time being here at the station. Josh Hader was the first one.
Yeah, he was on a contending team at that time. He was their closer.
And you did a straight-up swap.
And they were pissed off about it. All the Brewers players. I mean, even Devin Williams, who became the closer after Josh Hader was traded, he was the setup guy. He was so pissed off in his scrum that day in the clubhouse, fuming about it. Didn't even know he was available. I think you look at last year. Did anybody really know that Mason Miller was available? Most people are like, I don't know if he's going to get traded or not. Why would the A's do that? Didn't think they were going to trade away DeVries for Mason Miller. I'll tell you that. That was shocking. He makes a lot of shocking, stunning moves. Usually where there's smoke, there's fire. But we'll see these next couple of days. I mean, things could start heating up. And again, we've seen things heat up at night. We've seen things heat up in the late afternoon, early morning. We know A.J. Preller doesn't get any sleep of any kind. I don't know if that's a fact. It just looks like he doesn't get any sleep. I don't know how the guy sleeps with all the moves that he makes at weird hours. But this seems like it's building to be a little bit bigger of a winter meetings for the Padres than previous years. At least going back to the Juan Soto trade to the Yankees. I'm curious to see what happens here. And we're going to keep getting updates from Sam Levitt, the people he interviews, all of that stuff. Kevin Acee laid out some stuff about Nick Pivetta and Jake Cronenworth. What did he have to say? And one thing about the budget. That's what we'll discuss next on the Braden Surprenant Show, standing on Sports Station 97 through the Fan. This holiday season, too many San Diegans will go hungry. Join 97 to the Fan and support the San Diego Food Bank. Donate food directly online through our Odyssey San Diego Food Fund, where every donation helps feed local families. Go to 97tothefantasy.com/food fund and give today. We're going to be giving away Aztec tickets in the next hour. And at 1 o'clock, we will announce today's biggest fan as well. We are going to get you some more Winter Meetings talk, but also we're going to dive into some NFL stuff in the 1 o'clock hour. Talk a little college football. Also, we're going to talk about some of the biggest trade pieces that might be on the market here coming up as well. But we do want to dive into a couple of things before we get to that particular point. A lot to unpack with that Kevin Acee article that was written last night. He goes on to talk a little bit more about the Nick Pivetta rumors. Padres are at least listening on Nick Pivetta. A trade is considered unlikely unless part of a blockbuster, which was talked about prior. Bringing back multiple MLB players. Pavetta's owed $20 million in 2026. Strong candidate to opt out after the season instead of playing out the full contract. Preller said it's got to be open-minded. To me, I agree with the report. The only way that Pivetta gets moved is if it's a big blockbuster and multiple MLB players are getting shipped around. And the thing is with the Padres and what a lot of organizations do, and they should, is you should listen on everybody. It doesn't hurt to listen. And I think the Padres should be listening on everybody, including a guy like Nick Pivetta.
No, I agree 100%. And it's interesting that you bring up Nick Pivetta because I'm seeing somebody in the chat asking, how do the Padres only have $11 million to spend this offseason? Part of and Eric Hosmer's contract coming off the books being one of the things, that money that was for Eric Hosmer has gone to Nick Pivetta's pay raise plus some. So that's where that went. If you think you can ship Nick Pivetta off of one really impressive season and you can get something that you think will help you back, that to me, you can't really say no to that, can you? If you think you can get something in return that's worthwhile back, you got to do it.
Well, yeah, as long as you think you could fill all the holes that you have in the roster, because you're creating another one in the area that needs the most work, right? Starting pitching. How can Eric Hosmer's money last year on the books, the last year of it was like $12 million.
Yeah, and
he was getting paid $12.8 million last year. Ha-Seong Kim was getting $2 million. That's the $14.8 million that they're talking about that is coming back. But as Frank alluded to, Nick Pivetta got an $18 million raise.
Mm-hmm.
He was getting $2.5 million last year, and he's now up to $20.5 million.
I think Machado gets a raise this year. Fernando gets one.
Machado got an $8 million
Merrill
raise.
Gets one.
Fernando did not. Fernando stayed the same.
Okay.
Xander stays the same his entire contract. Jake Cronenworth got $1 million raise.
Merrill, I think, bumps up to, not by much, but he bumps up.
He went from $809,000 to $2.1 million.
Yeah, so it's not a big raise, but it's a raise nonetheless.
Darvish went down $5 million. I mean, it starts to balance itself out. So, like, even though everybody's like, "Oh, you got these extra $14 million laying around," well, it went into all the raises for everybody else on the team. And by the way, it's gonna jump again because at the end of 2026. Manny Machado's not making $25 million anymore. He's making $39 million.
Mm-hmm.
He gets a $14 million raise. And then he will stay at that $39 million every year through the remainder of his contract through 2033. They gave him less up front so they could be competitive during his prime years, and then gave him more on the back end when they were hopefully at a point of, oh, we spent the money to win a championship. So a lot of these players got raises. Like Fernando's got to get his bump going into next season. It's an additional $5 million. He'll have that for 2 years. And then his jumps up to $36 million in 2029. He's going to get an $11 million raise. But even then, like Fernando at $36 million is not a crazy contract. I mean, you're kind of expecting to pay at this day and age with this rate. You're expecting to pay that kind of money for a player like Fernando. In fact, if Fernando opted out today, he'd probably be getting close to $40 million a year.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're still getting a deal on him.
Yeah, so that's where, if you're wondering where the money's going and where that money coming off the books is going, it's going right back into the roster. It's not being pocketed. It's not that they're trying to save money. It's not they're trying to get under the cap. It's going to pay players on the team that are getting a raise through the contract.
Merrill gets another raise next year.
Yeah.
Jumps up another $5 million, then another $2 million, then another $2 million, and then it jumps up $10 million. I mean, there's a lot of backloaded contracts that the Padres have to deal with. Now, we don't know what the conversation's going to be like after the CBA. Who knows? I mean, that might drastically change.
Yeah, this is going to be fun for some goober with a calculator to figure out how all this stuff...
Accountants getting super stoked.
How all this stuff fits within a salary cap and who gets grandfathered in, who doesn't.
So again, to go back to the Nick Pivetta rumors, you got to be open-minded. You got to listen on everybody. The Jake Cronenworth interest. Teams have tried for years to acquire him. Cronenworth, above-average player, team leader, affordable at $12.28 million. I mean, his contract's actually affordable now.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, right? Padres have no desire to move him unless completely blown away, according to reports. They talk about his leadership role makes that a tough clubhouse trade unless the return is massive. But I think that goes back to maybe he's part of the deal of like what a big blockbuster would look like. Maybe it's something to do with Jake Cronenworth and Nick Pivetta and the 3-team trade or something like that. I mean, there's just a lot that could potentially go down. And the thing is, it's just you get a little bit of a taste in some of these reports, but you don't get the full picture. And so now your mind starts to wander on what could potentially happen. Now about the Padres' budget. Budget is not fixed. Seidler family allows upward adjustments if the right deal emerges. Dylan Cease acquired in 2024. Nick Pivetta signed in spring of 2025. Those were past examples of budget fluidity. Padres are operating on a strike when opportunity arises model, not a rigid payroll structure, which to me is exactly what you want, Frank, in ownership group. They're like, hey, look, we want to try to keep things around here, but if the right deal comes around, we're not going to say no for a couple extra $1 million to hold our roster back.
No, absolutely. And that goes with what we were saying a second ago, which is just because we're thinking about big name players that are getting traded doesn't mean that money is being used to get under the tax threshold. There's a very real chance and a real likelihood that this team is going to go right back, is going to take that money that they get and it's going to put it right back into the team. It would be silly for them not to, with how close they've gotten over the last couple of years to doing something really impressive. So I honestly it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if they keep the payroll where they are or near where it is.
And I think they will. And the other thing is with the Padres and the payroll on this particular situation, you look at, and we've seen the reports from Forbes. I mean, they're one of the teams that pump a high percentage of the revenue back into the roster. And that's what you're hoping for. You're hoping for an ownership group to do that.
And with the success and the sustained success that you're getting right now, there's no reason to change that.
When we come back, AJ Preller talked with Sam Levitt about a lot of different things. Are the Padres, it sounds like the trade market is open for San Diego. Are they going to trade from an area of strength? That question gets answered when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show. San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Haven't gotten to the midday sports standoff yet. you want to call in and take me down to sports trivia, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. If you could take me down, you'd be qualified for a shot at our grand prize, 2 tickets to New Kids on the Block in Las Vegas on June 26th, a 2-night stay at Park MGM, and a $100 gas card. Calling all blockheads. New Kids on the Block just announced 2026 dates for their The Right Stuff Las Vegas residency at Dolby Live at Park MGM. Don't miss all of your favorite hits live in Vegas with the New Kids on the Block. February to October 2026. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. We're going to hear some sound from AJ Preller at the winter meetings. He talked with Sam Levitt yesterday, and he met with the MLB Network crew to talk about all the rumors about a potential big trade circling around the Padres. We're going to get to that in just a second. Do want to get back to your phone calls, though. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Let's get out to Dan in Arizona. Dan, you're on the Braden Surprenant Show. What's going on, man?
Hey, how you doing, Braden?
Doing well.
I got a question for you. You kind of touched on it before. The Padres are returning all of their position players except first base designated hitter. What's wrong with Ryan O'Hearn? I would have thought he would have been a no-brainer to resign.
Yeah, I think Ryan O'Hearn would be a great fit on this team, as long as they have the right price. I think to me, Dan, I think you're in a situation where you're trying to get your starting pitching before you settle in on a power bat. I think the biggest problem right now for the Padres is starting pitching. They have, maybe a $20 million payroll. Maybe they're working to try to cut some more payroll to free up some spots to get a DH or a first baseman. Maybe they think they can trade for a DH or a first baseman. I mean, there's a lot going in on that. And, they obviously have a plan in place of what they want to do. And it sounds like starting pitching is kind of a main priority early compared to just, re-signing a guy like Ryan O'Hearn. And I think Ryan O'Hearn would be a good fit for the Padres, but the Padres might have ideas for maybe a better fit when it comes to slug, a first baseman / DH for this lineup that has 8 returning starters from a year ago. Let's talk real quick. We don't have too much time, but let's get to the sound from AJ Preller talking with Sam Levitt yesterday. I know he's gonna speak to the media again today. Later on, we'll have those on ready to go for air. I think probably in either the 1 o'clock hour or even later on Gwen and Chris. So want to stay here for all of your Padres news and content. But here's the AJ Preller interview from yesterday, talking about Padres potentially trading from a position of strength.
Towards perhaps keeping guys like Mason Miller, Adrian Morhone, David Morgan in bullpen roles this season. What can you tell us about where you're at as far as the decision process on if those guys would be stretched out?
Yeah, I mean, I think that our initial conversations, we're still, I think, still it'll be ongoing as we go through the offseason. But I think the original conversations or the initial conversations with the staff, we like our pen. We like the strength of the pen and the way those guys fit in. Personally, probably have to have a few more conversations with Mason and some people in our group. But, ultimately, I think we like the strength there. We like the ability to have, a lot of different guys in the bullpen that could close out a game and feel like, again, we don't want to take away from a big strength and look up and have, and have a few different units that are just average. So, my guess is we go in with those guys in the bullpen for us.
Speaking of positions of strength, obviously your lineup, your infield is one of them. The top of your rotation is certainly one of them. What do you suppose your willingness may be as this offseason continues to potentially deal from a position of strength to fill other needs you have?
Yeah, I mean, it's again like teams call because they like your players, So I think we've had a lot of conversation, a lot of incoming phone calls, and it's the off season you listen. You said you want to at least have the ability to hear what people are saying and kind of see how people value your players in the organization. But ultimately, we have a good foundation. We have a strong lineup, a team that's won back-to-back 90-win seasons. A lot of those guys coming back that were part of a playoff team this year. Really strong bullpen. And we understand there's probably some area and opportunity for guys in the rotation and free agent class. We're evaluating that every single day and having conversations, with agents there and, same thing on the trade front. So, again, it's all about how you put together the best possible team. And we also understand that it's a long way between now and opening day. So there's a lot of different possibilities, different conversations that may come into play. Teams are going to call and like certain players. You're going to listen, but at the end of the day, we think we have a pretty strong bullpen, have a strong, the makings of a strong rotation and lineup, and now trying to get some other pieces that fit what we're doing.
You have made a handful of signings the last few weeks. Dyson Acosta, as of today, Kyle Hart, Ty Adcock, some arms that could provide some depth. What did you like about that group?
Yeah, I think they're guys that our R&D group, our scouting group, they've identified similar to the process over the last few years, where you look up, we found Jeremiah Estrella that was on the waiver wire last year. Eduardo Nunez. To me, like, there's the ability to go add talent. There are guys that have really good arms, good stuff. We think with some tweaks and there's some things that maybe with our pitching group and maybe it's a couple different thoughts that we can continue to improve those guys and have them continue to push towards being big league pitchers. Kyle Hart obviously did a good job for us last year at different points in time, especially down the stretch out of the bullpen. And it's a chance to add depth. You always need a lot of pitching options. And I think for us, we have roster space available. With Acosta and Adcock, they were two of the top arms on the minor league free agent side of things. And they're guys that can factor in for us both in AAA and the big leagues this year.
Finally, you mentioned it being a long way until spring training opening day from where we are right now in early December. Last couple of years, it's been for your team a bit of a later offseason from the making moves standpoint. Do you anticipate that it could be a little bit like that again this year?
I mean, each year is different. There's years we've been aggressive or active, I should say, at the earlier in the off season. There's years we've been active at the winter meetings. And then other years you look up and it's you get to spring training and there's still some really good players that are available. So last year, whether it was Nick Pivetta signing him in spring training, I remember Manny Machado doing a press conference there in spring training, Jerickson Profar right before. I think we're just, we're prepared and try to have as much information as possible. And, ultimately, just because you're at the winter meetings, it doesn't mean you have to line up on something right now. I think we go into it, hey, if there's something that we feel like fits, for our team, both now and the future, we'll look at that and consider that. And, if not, be patient. And that usually means a better, a good opportunity, an opportunity that's better for the organization will come up down the road. That's how we operate.
AJ Preller talking with Sam Levitz from earlier today.
It's been a lot busier than being a specialist
yesterday. Oh, my bad.
From yesterday. We'll have more of that sound in the 1 o'clock hour as well. But it sounds like we have a contestant for the Midday Sports Standoff. Let's get to it.
Welcome to Midday Sports Standoff on the Braden Surprenant Show.
I can't believe what I'm seeing right now.
The ultimate head-to-head battle where sports knowledge and quick thinking collide.
No, he's no good. Are you kidding me?
Contestants will go toe-to-toe with Braden in a sports trivia deal where every correct answer brings them closer to victory.
Down the sideline! Wow! Unbelievable!
But 3 strikes and it's game over.
This is not Detroit, man. This is the Super Bowl.
Can you outsmart Braden? The Midday Sports Standoff starts now.
All right, Frank, who we got playing today?
We have Juan in Chula Vista. Juan, how you doing today, bud?
What up, Juan?
What up?
All righty. So today, since we're in the midst of the baseball winter meetings and because we are in the baseball off season, we're going to take a look at one of those off season stats that are always fun. Who are the top 10 players in jersey sales last year for Major League Baseball? So Juan, top 10 Major League Baseball jersey sales last season. Your first pick.
Oh, it's Shohei Ohtani.
I couldn't imagine Shohei Ohtani not being number one, so there you go. Number one off the board.
Arson Fudge. Aaron Judge.
No.
Wow.
You said it right first.
Aaron Judge.
Arson Fudge, number 2. Juan?
Frank just hates the Yankees. Juan.
Number 2 will be 2.
So you guys have 1 and 2. You don't have to go in order.
Oh, okay. Mookie Betts.
Mookie Betts is number 4. Braden.
God, it's got to be like, what about Juan Soto? That's got to be super popular.
Juan Soto's number 6. Juan.
Ronald Acuna Jr.
Ronald Acuna Jr. was not on the list this year.
Roki Sasaki. That's a shot in the dark.
No, Roki Sasaki, no. Juan? Those are way overthinking.
Fernando
this.
Tatis.
Fernando, number 9. So we've got half the list down.
Rafael Devers, Giants jersey.
Didn't matter. Rafael Devers was on the list. He was number 7. Juan.
We have 1, 2, and 4.
What was
he
that?
Said Lindor.
Lindor? Yes, Lindor was number 5. So we are missing 3. We're missing 3, 8, and 10 is what we're missing.
Bryce Harper's got to be on there.
Bryce Harper is number 10. Juan, if you get this, you will be qualified.
Definitely Dodgers, man. Which one?
Who was it?
Yamamoto, Japanese. Yamamoto.
Not Yamamoto.
So that means it's a Dodger?
There is a Dodger on the list, yes.
Freddie Freeman.
And that is number 3. Juan, it's either win or go home on this one.
I've done my part. What are we missing? Number 10?
Number 8.
Number 8. Come on, Juan.
Yep. Go throw a name out there.
I knocked you guys off my glasses. Sorry about that. Jose Altuve.
Juan is qualified
Hey.
to win a trip, as Altuve was the guy. Juan, hold on the line. I'll get your information during the break. But
Did he say he took so long because he had to take off his glasses, and that's what the delay was in the middle of the
brother?
And then all of a sudden, Altuve just.
I
Interesting.
heard
Is that what he
someone
said?
I heard someone say Altuve before he said that. Like I heard that in the background. So
then he goes like, "Sorry, I was fixing my glasses."
Ohtani, Arson Fudge, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto, Rafael Devers, Jose Altuve, Fernando Tatis Jr., and Bryce Harper. That was your top 10.
Appa. Kyle Schwarber going to get out of that list for 2026?
No.
You have any jerseys? I don't buy jerseys anymore. Like I get to a certain age and I don't need. I don't need to wear jerseys
because
anymore.
they're expensive.
They're expensive. They are. They look nice. To each their own. I don't wear jerseys.
I know my friend.
I mean, I wear the one that the Padres gave me.
I know my friend who is a Red Sox fan is the proud owner of a Xander Bogaerts City Connects jersey from when he came here in August.
That's interesting.
Well, being a Red Sox fan, Xander, and he wanted hearing that it was the last year of the City Connect. He liked them, so he picked it up.
Here's the interesting thing on jerseys. If you are somebody that's decided to wear a jersey, I feel like you got to buy a jersey of somebody that's like locked on a contract for a long time. Yeah. You don't want to buy a jersey and then the guy gets traded the next year.
The last jersey I purchased was Jacob deGrom. That was the last one I bought.
Wow, Texas Rangers Jacob deGrom jersey?
Incorrect. Yeah, exactly.
That's why it's always safe to buy jerseys of team legends, right?
Yeah.
Like buying a Tony Gwynn jersey.
I can't do. What's your take on the blank jersey? I can't.
No,
wear it.
give me something else. Blank jersey, no. And then
have the
Yankees
blank
jerseys with the nameplate, no.
Yeah, that's embarrassing.
Awful. And then here's another one. What's your opinion on that? We only have 45 seconds. What are people's opinion on the Tony Gwynn jersey in an era that didn't have that jersey? So like, or a player wearing current player wearing in an older jersey. So like a Tony Gwynn current brown and gold jersey. I think that's a foul.
I don't know. I could go either way. It's hard to find the old jerseys sometimes, and they're more expensive. But I can't say. I mean, my biggest issue again is the blank jersey. I could care less about the other ones. Honestly.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just kind of odd to me. I mean, it looks cool. I don't know if I'd buy it.
I wouldn't buy it. No.
OG only. I agree with that. All right. A lot of trade talk. AJ Preller was on MLB Network. What did he have to say about these rumors? We'll play it next. It's always good to get somebody qualified on the Midday Sports Stand-Up. It's also always great to get somebody qualified for the biggest fan. Now is the time, Frank.
So I've heard.
So I've heard multiple times. Today, or should I say now, is the time to recognize today's biggest fan. We got to get back on track on these.
Yeah, no kidding.
Congratulations to today's biggest fan, Ryan Hunter in El Cajon. Hooray.
Yay.
Ryan Hunter, give us a call within the next 10 minutes at 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973, and you'll qualify for our grand prize, 20 tickets for you and your friends for a night in our Odyssey Suite at a Padres game with all of the fan staff later this season, catered by Spiro's Mediterranean Cuisine. Remember to register your name at 97throughthefansd.com/biggest fan. Ryan Hunter in El Cajon. Ryan Hunter, paging Ryan Hunter. 10 minutes to call. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. That was a bad time to get a telemarketer call.
Guys, we need to pick it up. We really need to pick it up. Gwen and Chris had all of their callers call in last week. We have qualified the least amount of the 3 shows.
We got too many people that are shopping right now.
We've got to pick this up here, guys.
Pick up the pace.
There's no competition, but we're making it a competition to see who qualifies the most people on what show. We are very not winning that right now.
Well, we didn't call Nate's name, so
there it is.
Or Trav.
If I stop picking AI names,
I know that's right. You know, if you stop making up names for this, we'd probably have a chance. I mean, Ryan Hunter, such a generic name. Are you 2 first names, really, Frank?
I'm trying to
2 first names.
I'm trying to make it easier. There's bound to be somebody out there named Ryan Hunter.
There's got to be at least 1 or 2 Ryan Hunters in El Cajon. Anyway,
at least by accident.
When we go to break, we're going to give away tickets to Aztec basketball against Lamar at Viejas Arena. When we go to break, be the 5th caller and you'll win Aztec tickets. When we go to break, though, anybody that calls in before, no, doesn't count. When we go to break. All right. The big news today for Padres land, which is different than Birdland. Hey, Birdland.
Hey, Birdland.
There it is. We're going to Birdland tomorrow.
We are.
Which Birdland are we going to? They have multiple bird teams out there.
I'll be bringing an umbrella either way.
Why?
How many birds flying around?
It's true. There's a lot of Orioles and Ravens and stuff out there, apparently.
I'm not taking any chances. It's a finite amount
the
of clothes.
Stadiums are right next to each other, by the way.
Yeah.
All right. Here is what the report was from Kevin Acee yesterday. We've talked about this a lot, and we're going to hear from AJ Preller in a second. Here it is. 2 sources familiar with the Padres discussion say Preller is shooting big. One source said the Padres are working multiple fronts that could result in deals that rival the massive trade in which they acquired 4 major leaguers in exchange for Juan Soto and Trent Grisham at their winter meetings 2 years ago. Another source said Preller's plans coming to fruition would make the deals he made at the past 2 trade deadlines pale in comparison. The sources who were not authorized to speak publicly provided no further details, and that is the way winter meetings go. There is often difficulty in discerning speculation from rumors and either one from a nugget of information with actual traction. If there is truth to the Scuttle that the Padres are listening to offers for starting pitcher Nick Pivetta. It is one of the more glaring examples of the fact that Preller rules out virtually nothing and explores virtually everything. Well, AJ Preller was on MLB Network. And are you ready for this?
Yes.
And they asked them about the report this morning by Kevin Acee. Here's what AJ Preller said on MLB Network today.
AJ Preller, you're always a man of mystery here at the winter meetings. I just read the Kevin Acee article. What are your thoughts on hearing that you're shooting big?
I mean, I think it's the time of year where, all front offices, and Rick knows you're in these rooms and you have all kinds of ideas and thoughts flying, and 99% of them don't come to fruition. So I think for us, we try to be prepared. We feel like we have a good feel for what our team needs and our club needs. And some years we've made moves at the meeting, some years we haven't. Ultimately, there's a lot of time between now and spring training, and we've had some years where we've been doing press conferences in Peoria, for Machado, or last year for Nick Pivetta, and pulling off trades later for Dylan Cease. So we'll see where it all plays out.
Are there any untouchable players on your roster?
Yeah, I mean, again, like anything, you want to listen. I mean, you want to be able to listen to hear what people are going to say. That's the only way to find out more information, hear what's out there. But we like our team. We've had a club that's been in the playoffs now back-to-back years, and a team over the last, four out of the last 6 in the playoffs with a chance to win the World Series. And you only do that with really good players on the field. We've got a great foundation, a great group. Ultimately, it's nice to go into these meetings looking to fill a few different specific holes and not, looking to revamp the whole thing.
I'm a big body language guy. I was watching when you put that front end, and I was trying to read him because he was looking at nothing, no reaction to it.
So what does that mean?
No, I'm saying we're not going to know. He could be.
I'm a big body language. I watch in the morning when you do that D-Rose snorkeling thing, and you got some of that stuff you pull off, and I've got different thoughts for you based on some of the stuff I watch. So,
all right,
I'm watching you too, DeRose.
All right, let's go. Let's go.
Oh, there you go.
That's awesome. Big body language guy. AJ's good. He doesn't reveal anything in these. We've listened to AJ for years now. He doesn't allude to anything. He doesn't allude to anything.
Worst to play poker with, AJ Preller or a guy counting cards?
Probably AJ Preller.
I would, yeah.
I mean, he like everything that he answered there was,
it's your standard say everything
right?
without saying anything.
He didn't say anything. He's probably great at poker. Probably great at a lot of things. Great at line games. But I didn't get anything out of that. I didn't think we were going to get anything out of that. But he said it without saying it. I think, he's obviously working on stuff. He didn't want to allude to that there's no players untouchable. He wanted to do the due diligence. I mean, this is everything that we've seen out of AJ Preller for the last 10, 11 to whatever many years it's been, Frank.
Yeah, no, this is his game, and he's really, really, really good at it. He does not show his hand until it's time to let it out. And that was saying everything without saying anything from a classic AJ Preller right there.
So they're probably working on a lot of stuff. They're probably calling about a lot of things. I mean, how many times have we heard in a press conference after the trade deadline that they were working on multiple things? And then how about all the reports about deals that almost happened that Kevin Acee reports later on about how, the Padres almost traded Jackson Merrill for Shohei Ohtani. They were working on that. Or, they entertained potentially signing Bryce Harper or whatever it may be. We've heard those stories a lot, and I bet you we're going to hear even more of those stories in a year or maybe even like a couple weeks later or however many, whenever they want to get rid of some of the information, when some of the sources feel comfortable of leaking some information about what this winter meetings was like for the San Diego Padres and what deals they were working on, because it sounds like they're working on a lot of different stuff right now. And I think AJ Preller has done some of his best work with budget constraints and getting creative. And you get to see AJ Preller get really creative with the budget that he currently has.
Yeah, and it goes back to what we were saying, I believe, earlier in the show or yesterday. Your job as the general manager, when you go to the GM meetings or when you go to the winter meetings, is you are turning every stone over. Every option has to be explored. Otherwise, you're not doing your job properly. Even stones that are never going to move. You still gotta kick it. See, maybe. Oh, there's a little bit of movement there this year. Maybe we can get enough leverage behind it to get it rolling. So he's just doing his job. That's why you don't, until you see something really happen, that's why you don't look into the Fernando getting traded. You don't look into Jackson Merrill getting traded unless something really changes. It's just a part of the job of being a general manager at these meetings.
I'm curious to see what I like the juicy information that comes out later, even though it's, deals that did end up not happening. But I don't know. I got a feeling that something might be up their sleeve at this winter meetings. I mean, last year we didn't get too many of these rumors. We had they might be working on some things, but it wasn't a lot. Was it Nashville was last year?
I believe so.
I think so. There wasn't a lot really to talk about last year. This year, it seems like there's a little bit more on the Padre front.
Yeah, and after this morning, things have really died down. There's not really much going on. We had the trade between Boston and the Angels. We've had a couple of minor league deals signed, so it's really slowed down after the two major signings that we had within the 15 minutes of Schwarber and Diaz.
And, that should be expected. I mean, it's 4:00 out there on the East Coast right now, 4:11. I mean, this is kind of the lull time for a little bit. And then it usually heats up around dinner time out there. And when everybody starts hanging out at the bar, the hotel bars.
We've got our third different panel on MLB Network right now. So
already on the third show already. They've shifted out. That's awesome. The latest thing, we saw the three teams to watch in trade talks: Red Sox, Cubs, and Padres. And then the latest update we got from ESPN was Pete Fairbanks is a very popular player this offseason, which is what they've been reporting on for the last 2 weeks. So we've gotten everything out of the winter meetings for the day. We're going to keep you updated if anything else happens that's big. But when we come back, we recap Week 14 of the National Football League. It finished last night. With a exciting game between the Chargers and the Eagles. We'll talk about that and get you the NFL whip around when we come back in the 1:00 hour on the Braden Surprenant Show. Setting us over on Sports Station 97.3. The Fan. I already said it.
It's something we got to do.
I already said it. I said fifth caller when you go to break. I teased it before. Remember, hey, fifth caller. You call in number 5. I already told you what you can win. We'll do it when we go to break.
In a
This hour 97 through the fans brought to you by Mission Fed. From first accounts to big life moments, Mission Fed can help. Saving shouldn't be stressful. Mission Fed makes it easier with great rates on savings, certificates, and ultra money market accounts. Grow your money the smart way. Check out the latest rates and open an account at missionfed.com. Membership and account criteria apply. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. This is the Braden Surprenant Show, live and local each and every day from 10 to 2 on Seneca's number one sports station, 97.3 The Fan. We are leading you up to Gwen and Chris, so we'll continue the winter meetings coverage as a little bit of a dying down over in Orlando. This is kind of the time where things do die down a little bit. I mean, I've covered the winter meetings a couple of times now here in San Diego, and this is around 4 o'clock, 4:19 local times. It usually starts to have a little bit of a lull, and then it ramps back up again for the nightcap. And I'm sure we'll get some of that after they, take a little nap, rest up, all the meetings they've had today, meet themselves as organizations. I know they're doing a lot of different interviews and stuff throughout the afternoon and the morning and everything like that. So we will get you updated on anything that involves the Padres that happens during our show. But we got a lot of news in the National Football League. We're going to recap Week 14 right now with our NFL Whip Around.
All righty. Let's get to it, shall we? Sunday's games. We've already went over the Thursday game last week. Sunday's games. The Seattle Seahawks beating the Atlanta Falcons 37-9. This makes Seattle now one of 3 teams, I believe, in the NFL that have now double-digit wins. Atlanta now falls to 4-9.
Well, we talked about it during the Whip Around preview that you didn't know what Atlanta Falcons team was going to show up. Yeah. Well, you got the team that has been showing up the last couple of weeks, and I think that's going to be the team that you see the rest of the season. Seattle rolls to another big victory. They're now 10-3 on the year, keeping pace with the rest of the NFC West, which looks to be very, very good. The Los Angeles Rams, if I'm not mistaken, have taken over the number 1 seed in the playoff picture in the NFC. Seattle not too far behind. They're tied for the number 1 seed right now in the National Football Conference, but LA's got the tiebreaker based on win percentage, so that puts them behind the 8 ball. But look, San Francisco is not too far behind. They're a game back of LA and Seattle. This one's going to come down to the wire, and the difference between maybe a first-round bye and the last spot in the standings. I mean, look at the Chicago Bears. We're going to get to them in a second, but Chicago with the loss dropped from 1 to 7. They went from having the 1 seed last week to potentially being left out of the playoffs. They'll have a game lead on Detroit. The NFC playoff picture is crazy. Yep. Moving on to the AFC side. This was a thriller in Buffalo in the snow.
Yes, it was. Buffalo Bills going 9-4 against the Cincinnati Bengals, who are now 4-9, 39-34. And this was a game that we said that if Cincinnati were to win this game, it would show that they are really, truly contenders in that AFC North. They did probably the next best thing.
Yeah, they got pretty close and gave Buffalo a scare. I think we just got a lot of tight contending teams in the National Football League. It's a benefit of the salary cap, right?
Yeah.
We talked about, Cincinnati gave them a run, and we'll see the final weeks. I didn't think Pittsburgh was going to be able to beat Baltimore, but there's a handful of weeks left, and all those teams are still playing each other, and I think it's anybody's game. You asked last week, do you think that the division winner of the AFC North will have a losing record? I think so.
Yeah, I think that's all but confirmed at this point. The Tennessee Titans give the New York Giants a favor, as the Titans can't even lose properly, as they won against the Cleveland Browns 37-29. Titans now 2-11, Brownies 3-10. Reason why they do the Giants a favor is because now the New York Giants have the number 1 overall draft pick.
Well, you don't need a quarterback. That's kind of nice.
Yeah,
draft some linemen. It's not a great quarterback class.
Anyway.
I'm just a little surprised by that win for the Titans. They were going against Shador, man.
Yeah.
How were they able to pull that off?
Shador, who has earned the right to be the every week starter for the Brownies now.
There you go.
How about it?
Hey, how about ball coach McCoy, huh? How about Mike McCoy, huh?
Attaboy. The Minnesota Vikings blank the Washington Commanders 31-0. Vikings go to 5-8 on the year. Commanders down to 3-10. They have just been a mess this year.
They're a mess. They got Jaden Daniels back. Didn't happen. I mean, you got blanked by the team that got blanked the week before.
Mm-hmm.
Blanked the week before.
Yep.
They looked awful. Minnesota looked like they couldn't even, like, they weren't going to score another touchdown all year. And then they hung, 31 on Washington?
Yeah, 31-0.
I think a lot of Cowboys fans that thought that they could, continue to compete with Philly because Philly is just not really doing very well. They might have second thoughts. They were hoping, because Philly's got Washington 2 out of the last 3 weeks of the season. They were hoping for a split. I don't think that's going to be the case. I'd be shocked if Washington wins another game. I mean, this week's the best chance. They got New York, but it's on the road. And knowing the Giants, they probably play themselves out of the number 1 pick by beating Washington on the weekend. So, yeah, they're bad.
Speaking of New York, the New York Jetropolitans did not have a fun time, as a matter of fact, against the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins improved to 6-7. Jets fall to 3-10 with a 34-10 loss in front of about 25 people in MetLife Stadium.
Jets are eliminated now from contention.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they are. Jets, Browns, Raiders, and Titans all eliminated from the AFC. NFC's got the Falcons, Cardinals, Saints, Commanders, and Giants all eliminated. Next one on the list is the Bengals. And then the Dolphins, who won that game, now with the win, tied with the Ravens and the Chiefs at 6-7. Still kind of hanging around if you're Miami, but I don't know. Not that great.
Moving on.
The
3-10 New Orleans Saints. How about that? Beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. See, this is why you need Jason Pierre-Paul.
Yeah.
Bucks now 7-6 after a 24-20 loss at home to the Saints.
They're staying alive. They're tied with Carolina now. I mean, there's a possibility that Carolina can win that division. I mean, there's 4 weeks left. Atlanta's 3 games out. Maybe Atlanta can win the division. It's for as good and competitive the NFC West is and the NFC North is.
AFC North. Oh, NFC North too. You're right.
The NFC North is more, yeah. The AFC North is competitive because they suck. That's the same thing with the NFC South. They're competitive because they all suck. I mean, maybe the Falcons can climb out of a hole. I doubt it. Not the way that they played, but Carolina, I think Carolina is going to sneak into the playoffs. Tampa has not looked good the last couple of weeks, and losing to the Saints is not great. Their secondary is not good. And what did Eddie Brown say on the show on Thursday? Start the Saints quarterback in fantasy. He's going to have a good day. He did. He had a couple of he didn't have any passing touchdowns. He had a couple of rushing touchdowns, though. That's a tough loss for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home.
You ready for this one, Braden? We got to sing it together. You ready?
Yes.
This is our Colts.
Oh, no.
This is
These
our
are
team.
Colts.
We have no Achilles. Daniel Jones down with an Achilles injury, done for the year. Colts fall to 8-5. Jacksonville Jaguars up at 9-4, 36-19 win.
I think we picked the Jags this week, did we not?
I
remember
so.
us picking the Jags. The Colts are starting to play better teams, and they're not doing very well. Now, Daniel Jones getting knocked out is not great.
Yeah, that's not.
But they got Seattle this weekend. Seattle is just annihilating people. And even if they have, because Phillip Rivers signed with the Colts, their practice squad, I'm sure they're going to try to get him up to speed as quickly as possible. Even with Phillip Rivers, even if he plays this week, he's not going to be prepared, in my opinion, to take on Seattle. That's a loss. Then the Colts host San Francisco, who is right there in contention in the NFC West. Then the Colts have the Jags again. And then the Colts finish the season at Houston.
You want
to know why Phillip Rivers got brought in?
I would not expect Phillip Rivers to play this weekend.
He's going to have to play next weekend.
Yeah, I would expect him to play not this week, next week would be my expectation.
I mean, Shane Steichen, his quarterback, Phillip Rivers is going to know the system. There's nobody else that's going to be on the open market that you're going to be able to get that's going to fill in and help you out. It's past the trade deadline in the National Football League. Desperate times call for desperate net measures. And right now, I don't remember who the backup is for the Colts, but you're better off with 44-year-old Phillip Rivers than you are with him, who, by the way, is like the same age as Phillip Rivers' oldest daughter. His oldest daughter is older than Tyler Warren, who just got drafted.
Oh, there you go.
I'm just He gets picked up. Now all of a sudden his Hall of Fame thing resets. The fact that he got picked up. He doesn't even have to play.
Yeah.
I know B. Wilson put that in the chat. But that's interesting. I looked at that schedule. Even with a healthy Daniel Jones, who's had a decent season, there's a potential, like the way they've been playing, that they go 0-4 in their next 4 games anyway. Seattle, San Francisco, Jacksonville, and Houston. We talked about, what did we said it like early in the season. I thought the Colts were fake good. And somebody was popping off like, what about now? They beat the Broncos, whatever it was. And you know what?
Look,
what's the saying on this show, Frank?
It changed, but to be fair, their season is over now, but it's not because they lost to a couple bad teams because their quarterback is out.
They were starting to fall down, though.
They were.
I mean, go look at the Colts season that they have had.
Um,
They started off great, right? Started off the season great. Started off the season, I think they were 7-1 to start the year.
I believe, yeah.
They have now lost 4 out of the last 5, and their only win is big again against the Falcons.
Yeah, it's not.
Look at this. Look at the teams that they beat. Miami 6-7. They beat Denver on what was a leveraging call called against the Broncos, which led to the Colts attempting another field goal to win, and they won. Otherwise, Denver would have won that game. They beat the Titans. They played the Rams, who are good, lost. Beat the Raiders, the Cardinals. The win at the Chargers is good. Then the Titans again. How many? They got one good win in that group. The Denver game was kind of a fluke. They played the Steelers and lost. They beat the Falcons. Then they played 3 good teams in a row, and Kansas City's kind of mediocre. And now they got to take on Seattle, San Francisco, the Jags again, and Houston. Phillip Rivers is going to have to, he's going to have to do the Lord's work to try to make this thing happen.
Speaking of the Pittsburgh Steelers have taken control of the AFC North. Steelers with a 7-6 record as they played the Ravens 6-7. They had a surge and have fallen off over the last couple of weeks. Steelers beating the Ravens 27-22.
I'm surprised by that. That's a good win for the Steelers. They split now with Baltimore, I think.
I believe
on
so,
the season. I don't think they play each other again. They might. You never know in this day and age of the NFL. They might play them next week for no reason. No, they play them at the end of the year. I think Baltimore splits with them, to be honest with you. I'm a little surprised by that victory for Pittsburgh, but hey, they're staying alive, staying in there now, back in first in the AFC North.
Yep, they are. 2 teams with the same record, just flip reversed. A lot of people were saying it like this.
Oh, the Denver Broncos.
After they saw that late touchdown by the Raiders to flip the betting line. Broncos beating the Raiders 24-17.
Raiders are so bad. I was talking with my friends last night. He said, like, the Chargers, he loves the Chargers social media team.
Yeah.
He was like, why can't the Raiders at least do that? Like, just troll teams all the time just for fun. Like, just troll the 4 teams that we're going to beat that year, the 2 or 3 teams we're going to beat that year. Just pump all. What is it going to cost? Like $80,000 to do that for a good social media person?
Oh, there you
go.
go.
Just embrace being the team that sucks. Embrace the suck.
Just
embrace it. Make it fun. Because that's the only thing really working out for the Raiders. They traded for a guy that got Pete Carroll fired in Seattle the first time. They brought him in a trade, Geno Smith. He hadn't done blank. Such a bad organization. They're just always going to lose. Commitment to excellence. Just win, baby.
Well,
they haven't done any of that in decades.
Speaking of just winning, the Green Bay Packers taking a victory 28-21 at Lambeau Field in the freezing cold. They now hold a half a game lead, and that half a game is because of the tie in the NFC North against the team that is known as
The Bears. The Bears.
We thought that was going to be the case. Green Bay's good.
Yeah.
They got to play them at home. Green Bay is going to Chicago in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
How many of these division games are like that right now?
It's ridiculous.
I think Green Bay
is.
gets them again in Chicago. I think Green Bay is the best team in that division. I think the Lions are a pretty close second, but the Bears beat them up on Thanksgiving. So we'll see how the standings play out. I think that the Bears have flirted with disaster, and they might be on spent time.
Yeah. I don't think there's too much to say about this one. The 10-3 LA Rams beating the 3-10 Arizona Cardinals, 45-17.
That happened.
Then we go to Sunday night as the Houston Texans are now 8-5 after beating a lifeless.
He draws the foul.
Oh, sorry. I mean, Kansas City Chiefs. My bad. 20-10, the final score. Kansas City is, I've been saying it all year, they're no good.
They're not very good.
And they're proving it every single week.
They haven't been good for the last kind of couple of years. They've had the benefit of the doubt with some home stuff and some late heroics by people that are not even playing in the game on the field. But the Texans defense is good.
I'll tell you one team that's also proving to be not as good as people thought they were. That would be the
ELGLES Eagles.
They're about as good as her spelling.
How do you lose 22-19 to the Chargers in overtime and not look competitive in the game at all?
Your quarterback throws 4 picks and almost threw a 5th.
And sets an NFL record for turning the ball over twice.
On the same play.
On the same
flipping play. Eagles fans, I got news for you. The Jalen Hurts thing was never going to be the answer. I know he's won 2 Super Bowls and the team has won 2 Super Bowls. But then when you win Super Bowls, my friends are tired of me talking about this, but when you win Super Bowls, you got to start paying people. And when you pay people, you got to pay the people that can help carry the team because you can't pay the other people on the team. The roster for the Eagles was great. Those 2 Super Bowl years, they had arguably one of the best offensive and defensive lines, and they won with not having to pay Jalen Hurts. As soon as you had to pay Jalen Hurts, he had to be the guy that carried the team, and guess what he has done since trying to carry the team? It's not been very good.
Nope.
They can't throw the ball that well. He made a couple of throws in those years that made things work out for him, but he had unlimited time. Now everybody's blaming the O-line. Hey, you know what? You couldn't pay for all those guys all the time. All of a sudden, they start to create cracks, and I think Eagles fans are starting to learn that Jalen Hurts is not a franchise quarterback. But that's a look at the whip around. Good win for the Chargers last night.
It's fun for some while it lasted.
Overreactions to the week of the NFL when we come back, and updates on the winter meetings if we get any, as we finish up the show on the Braden Surprenant Show. Standing Summer Sports Station 97 through the Fan. All guests on 97 through the Fan. Join us on the David P. Shapiro Fan Hotline. David P. Shapiro, criminal defense attorneys helping good people regain control of their future when charged with the crime since 2010. Visit davidpshapirolaw.com. All right, we want to get to some more football talk in just a little bit. Any updates that we have potentially on the winter meetings, as this is a time where things kind of tend to die down a little bit. We have had a lot to talk about today on the show when it comes to the payroll for the Padres, when it comes to biggest needs, when it comes to potentially making some big trades, blockbuster trade. That was the news that came out last night. Latest stuff today that we haven't talked about yet. White Sox have a high bar for dealing Luis Robert Jr. Didn't we already do this saga?
Yeah, I was going to say that sounds very familiar to what we heard back in July.
Yeah. In his first 31 games of the All-Star break, Luis Robert Jr. demonstrated what kind of impact he could have. He had 298 with a 456 slug, clubbing 5 homers and stealing 5 bases throughout Robert's career. The talk has been about his possible impact if he ever remained injury-free, and that was an example of it. But then Robert got hurt again, and the White Sox, with very little future payroll obligation, picked up his $20 million option. For 2026, White Sox are likely to keep Robert into the 2026 season and maybe beyond. The team holds another $20 million club option for 2027, a year of club control that could make Robert look even more attractive in trade if the 28-year-old is able to stay on the field and generate the kind of high-end production the White Sox enjoyed last summer. They're basically hanging on to him to have a good first half of the season. They could trade him at the deadline.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And that's what they tried to do last year and never pulled the trigger on it.
Before we get to the overreactions for Week 14 of the NFL, the standings for the NFL right now and the way that things play out, this thing's coming down to the wire for a lot of teams. Like,
oh yeah,
Dallas at 6-6-1, 10th best team right now in the NFC. They could still win the division, and it's not crazy if you look at the playoff machine.
Mm-hmm.
Carolina can still win their division. They can also make it as a wild card. Detroit is right there on Chicago's tail. I mean, you look at the NFC playoff picture right now. The Rams have the 1 seed at 10-3. And then your other division winners for the 2, 3, and 4 seeds are Green Bay at 9-3-1, Philly at 8-5, and Tampa at 7-6. Seattle also 10-3, tied with the Rams for the number 1 seed. I mean, it looks like the number 1 seed is probably going to come from the NFC West, maybe even the North if Green Bay stays around. But Seattle's there with the 5, San Francisco at 6, Chicago the 7. Chicago and San Francisco are tied at 9-4. Detroit is a game back from them. Carolina is 2 games back. No more bye weeks now in the NFL. And Dallas, with that tie, makes things a little bit more complicated, but they're 2 games back as well, roughly 2 games back of a wild card spot. They can also potentially win the division, as mentioned before. In the AFC, I mean, Cincinnati can still win the division. It's not crazy that Cincinnati can win the division at 8-9. Now they can't lose any more games. And that loss to Buffalo really hurt. But Cincinnati to finish the season, they have Baltimore this week, who they beat in Baltimore on Thanksgiving. They got Miami on the road, which could be a little bit of a trap. They got Arizona at home, and then they finished with Cleveland. Cincinnati can win those 4 games, but they need a little bit of help. Baltimore is sitting at 6-7 currently. They'd have to finish the season 2-2 for the Bengals to potentially, win the division. Ravens have the Patriots next week, in 2 weeks. The Ravens have Cincinnati this weekend, as mentioned before. Then they got New England. They got to play Green Bay, and they have to play Pittsburgh one more time. So 2-2 is not crazy. I mean, Baltimore's probably might go 1-3. And then you look at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's got to play Miami, Cleveland, the other Detroit, which is difficult. They got to play the Ravens again.
Mm-hmm.
That division's up for grabs. You look at the AFC West with Denver, Kansas City, and LA. And Kansas City, even though they're at 6-7, are right there on the doorstep. Chargers got to play Kansas City this week. I mean, if the Chiefs beat the Chargers, all of a sudden things change a little bit in the AFC West. Chargers got to play the Dallas Cowboys on the road. Kansas City's got the Titans. Chargers got to play the next week after that. They got the Houston Texans, who are probably in a spot to potentially win the division, if not finish with a high wild card spot. And then they got to finish the Chargers do with the Broncos at the end of the year. Kansas City's got the Raiders and the Broncos mixed in as well. They could potentially pass the Chargers in the standings and get the 7th seed in the AFC wild card picture. I mean, there's just a lot of teams that are still readily alive in both of the NFL leagues, and this thing's going to come down to the last couple of weeks. It's going to be fun to watch. I mean, we got 4 weeks left in the National Football League. What are the biggest overreactions for Week 14?
It's almost like parody's a good thing.
Parody's great. This is fun. All these teams are in it. It's awesome. You love parody in leagues.
Salary caps are fun too, you know.
They are. Unless you're a player.
Well,
they're fun for the fans, though.
Yeah.
Keep things interesting.
They'll get over it. The Patriots had their bye week this week, so the Bills' victory on Sunday shaved half a game off the Patriots' division lead and left Buffalo 2 games back with 4 to play. The Bills lost to the Pats in Buffalo earlier this season, so a Pats victory next week would effectively clinch the division for New England because Buffalo would be 3 games back with 3 to play and would lose the head-to-head tiebreaker. That being known, this overreaction seems a little ridiculous. The Bills-Patriots decides the AFC East this year.
Dan Graziano comes up with the overreactions, and we react to said overreactions. Overreaction number 1, next week's Bills-Patriots games will decide the AFC East. I don't think so. I look at the remaining schedule. I mean, the Patriots will have the Bills. I think they lose that game, and I still think they win the division. I think they even have a chance of getting the number 1 seed if you go play on the playoff machine. I mean, Buffalo has a very favorable schedule to play out, but the Patriots, here's what the Patriots have. New England in week 16 is going to take on the Ravens, which after you saw the Ravens play, it's not out of the realm of possibility to go win in Baltimore. Buffalo's got Cleveland. The Patriots in week 17 have, I'm pretty sure, the Jetropolitans, if I'm not mistaken. New England's got the Jets in week 17. The Bills have the Eagles, which is going to be a battle. And then in week 18, the final week of the season, yes, the Bills have the Jets. Pats have the Dolphins at home. I think New England's going to win 3 of their next 4 games. I think they'll go 3-1, and that's including losing to Buffalo, and they'll finish a game in front of the Bills. So no, I'm selling it. I don't think that game is going to be the ultimate deal because I think Buffalo wins this weekend and still doesn't get the division.
I would agree with that. On Sunday, the Colts lost in Jacksonville, which they do every year. Seriously, they have not won there since 2014, and they play there every year. But the circumstances of this defeat feel far more dire than normal. The loss dropped the Colts out of first place in the AFC South. They now sit at 8-5, 1 game behind the Jags, and a half a game ahead of the Houston Texans, pending their game against. So now they're tied with the Chiefs. Moreover, and perhaps more significantly, quarterback Daniel Jones suffered what is feared and has been confirmed is a torn right Achilles during the first quarter. The Colts' incredibly promising season has hit the skids, and they've lost 3 in a row and 4 of their last 5. Their final 4 games in order at Seattle versus San Francisco and versus Jacksonville at Houston. The Colts are buy or sell. The Colts are in trouble, not just for this season, but for the foreseeable future as well.
I buy that for sure. I disagree with Dan Graziano. I think they're going to lose their next 4 games. He says it's not that big of a deal. I think it is. And also on top of that, Daniel Jones played well enough where it's like, hey, maybe this guy's the future quarterback, but with an Achilles injury, he's not going to be. I don't think you get anything out of Anthony Richardson Sr., and now you're in quarterback purgatory if you're the Indianapolis Colts. Because here's the other thing. If they go 8-9, they lose the next 4 games, they go 8-9, they're not getting a high draft pick.
No.
They're not going to be able to fix their quarterback problem next year. They're going to have to go find something. They're going to have to go find a Sam Darnold type player and sign him during the offseason and then hope that the next draft is something better. They're in a jam right now because you need a good quarterback to succeed in the National Football League, at least a competent one. I hope Phillip Rivers has a lot of success. He's not a long-term solution. They have no long-term solution at quarterback. Yes, I'm buying this. The Colts are definitely in big trouble after losing their quarterback and Riley Leonard being a little banged up and have to bring in Phillip Rivers. They're in trouble.
Yeah, they do have some serious problems. Mike Tomlin's Steelers held on for a 27-22 victory in Baltimore on Sunday to move back into first place in the AFC North. A division seemingly nobody wants to win. Pittsburgh is now 7-6, one game in front of the Ravens, and 3 games ahead of the Bengals, whose season is on life support after Sunday's loss in Buffalo. No one in the AFC North has a positive point differential on the season, something that can also be said about the NFC South. And only Pittsburgh has a winning record. The Steelers will play Miami on Monday Night Football next week and then go to Detroit in Week 16, on the road to Cleveland in 17, and then we'll finish up at home against the Ravens. If the Steelers go 2-2 or even 1-2-1, Tomlin will continue one of the most remarkable streaks in coaching history. His 19th season as head coach for the Steelers, and has never finished with a losing record. Buy or sell, he's going to do it.
No, he's not. I'm selling that. They're going to go 8-9. He's going to miss it by a game. He's not going to do it. The other overreactions that Dan Graziano put out, Fernando Mendoza will be the Raiders quarterback next season. I'll buy that. I think they're going to be drafting a quarterback. He's the best one on the market. Did they get the number 1 seed? The number 1 draft pick, maybe. Lions are going to overtake the Packers and win the NFC North. I will sell that as well. Their schedule's more difficult than the Packers to finish out the season. Tomorrow's show, last show in San Diego, and then we'll be in Baltimore for 2 days. We're going to talk, obviously, anything that happens with Major League Baseball and the San Diego Padres on the next show, and keep you updated on everything you need to know for the football week. Frank Marchese, I'm Braden Surprenant. Gwen and Chris coming up next.